The number one reason why people file bankruptcy in this country is medical bills. They cannot keep up.
As much as I want to help our community, but we're the worst customer by far.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to money,
the breadwinner dies. You're leaving behind a widow who, now you have to go to work?
God's going to take care of me.
Oh, yeah.
They use the religion card.
I know you would die for your family, but try living for your family. You're a heavy set person and you're at 50. Try making it 55.
That's only white people shit.
Yep.
I hate
Hit
that.
it on the head.
I hate that because it is part of our DNA that we are successful.
It shouldn't be a number. And that's what I truly believe. It shouldn't be a number. Like, don't give me a limit on how much I should contribute to this event, especially if it's a funeral.
School's a scam simply because the government feed off these children.
Yeah.
Hey, go to school, right? We'll give you a loan, but they can't apply for a personal loan.
You need money for a home. You need money for your health. You need money for everything.
Yeah.
So it's like for people to be like, money isn't everything. Yes, it is.
Welcome to the Kava podcast.
Let's go.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So we have a great topic that we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about why are we poor, broke, and dying young. But before we go right into it, if you guys don't mind, just give yourselves a quick intro to everybody, who you are, what do you guys do, and then we'll definitely have some Kava for you guys, and then we'll go right into our discussion. We'll start this way.
My name is Savannah Sanitoa. I'm from American Samoa. I come from a military background, and I live in Oregon.
All right. Thank you, Savannah.
Hi, my name is Reka Silafau. My parents are from Western and American Samoa, and I was born in the Bay, but now I live and reside in Oregon.
All right. Thank you.
My name is Isaac Silafau. Same. My parents are from Western and American Samoa. Born in San Francisco. Now we currently reside in Oregon.
Damian Vaitotolu, Jennings Vaitotolu. I'm in the Army, been in 18 years. Been doing the financial industry about 3 years. I currently live in Los Angeles, California.
All right. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No.
Your support.
All right. Thank you for the intros. We're going to have a great episode for today. Before we go right into it, the Golf God podcast, we got to get some Gobble going for everybody.
Let's do it.
And this is everybody's first time. All right. So
My first time.
Oh, your
My
first
first
time. Oh, first time.
Yeah.
All right. So we got some pre-rich Gobble drinkers on. Okay. And you got your cup.
I was here, people
Thank you.
talking about doing the Kava. I'm like,
Just don't spit.
All right. So in our culture, traditionally, before we drink the Kava, we always raise our cups. We offer some words of endearment towards each other, and then we drink. Okay. So for tonight's topic, I was thinking about it as far as what I'm going to share for my words of endearment, and I wanted to share a old Tongan proverb, "Whangota ki he katoawa," which means fishing with a hole in your bag. And what that proverb means is you can have all the skills and you can have a positive attitude, but if you don't take care of your basic human needs, you will always fail. So it's something that I always think about the Pacific Islanders, especially our generation, that we do have the skills, we do have the attitude to be successful. But if we don't talk and discuss about our basic needs that we need to, in order to function, which is health, poverty, finances, you don't focus on those things, it's going to be really, really hard for us to take it to the next level and succeed. If we don't take care of our human needs, it starts at home. The things that we're going to discuss today ultimately is not going to work out. So it's something I just want to share for you guys and for everybody that's watching. And that's the proverb I want to share. I might offer my words of endearment.
perfect.
Love it.
Well said.
I'll start with you, Savannah.
Oh, okay. May you continue to work hard, and no matter what, don't quit on yourself. So don't quit on yourself.
Don't quit.
Great words. I think that it was a divine appointment for us to be here. And especially because in this day and age, we're talking about things that people don't really discuss, especially with our generation. So I pray that this reaches someone and that someone here on this podcast, maybe they don't see themselves now getting out of the situation that they're in, but there's always hope as long as you don't give up.
Gotcha. Always be a student. I know we're here talking about, certain finances and stuff like that, but always continue to learn, whether it's finances, whether it's, then your faith. One thing that we harp on is faith, finances, family, fun, all of that stuff. And so always continue to improve, always continue to learn, and never stop being a student of life.
That's awesome. Just like Coach says, right? The old you can't make you new money, right? So going from where you're at today and become financially free. I think that's all. That's where we should be going, is become financially free. So financial freedom is important. So.
All right. Cheers. And just say Ofa.
Ofa.
Atu. All right.
Done.
Oh, drink the whole thing. Got it.
What do you guys think?
No, it's good. Not overpowering.
It's not.
Yeah.
I haven't had it in a while, so
Oh,
than what I remember.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's like healthy dirt water.
Healthy.
From the
Literally.
Emphasis on health.
Literally.
As always, shout out to all the Kava drinkers out there. Always appreciate the culture, all the Tongans out there. If you guys do drink today, make sure you go home to your wife.
Make sure.
Go home to your wife. The topic that we're going to discuss today is why are we poor, broke, and dying young? I just want to hear what's your opening thoughts about that topic, and then we can dissect it and go more into specific. Our style we do, Savannah. We'll go down this way.
Sure. Why are we poor, broke, right, and dying young? Honestly, I think it's just not having access to the education, and being able to know what it takes to become financially free, right? I know we'll get more into it, but our culture allows us to have so many great things. One of them is not financial freedom.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'll pass it to you. Why do you think? I'm just going to close that.
Wealth is not something that you just create. It's something that is generated. So throughout the generations, depending on what the pattern is of the previous generation before you, not saying that that's the main reason why you are where you are, but it's a starting point. However, just because they didn't know any better doesn't mean that you can't get out of the situation that you're in. So I think that because that's literally probably my background story. I think that's the opening statement that I would make is it's generated.
Yeah, I like that, patterns. I'm definitely gonna break that down.
For me, I think when it comes to the question of why we're broke, I think it has to do a lot with the environment that you surround yourself in.
Yeah.
You always hear people say like, hey, let me see the group of friends that you're with, or let me see the group of family like you're with. If they're not talking about these things that we're discussing today, how will you ever learn? Because they're not going to teach you in school, right? And also, a lot of our parents and grandparents didn't originate in this country. So, when you come from the island, a lot of, especially in I know with my dad, he came from Western Samoa, and all they knew was work hard. My dad, he didn't graduate high school. He focused on farming and all that stuff and agriculture stuff. So, and taking care of the family. Yeah. Now, fast forward to moving to the U.S. Every time we ask our older generations, why did we come to America? We came to America for that opportunity.
There we go.
To not be broke, to not live the lifestyles that our parents and grandparents lived in the island. And so for us to not take advantage of that, it's a sad thing to see, because we're literally doing the opposite of what our parents and grandparents brought us here for.
Yeah.
And so I think with the environment, the resources, the education, all of that stems from the household and the nuclear family, if you have both parents, and just your circle of friends that you have. I think that's one of the factors.
For me, I think it's old habits, right? But it's also, I think it's because we were taught at such a young age, especially in a Polynesian family, and that's all we know, right? And then, because I could use myself as an example, just when I joined the military, it was a huge culture change, coming to America and stuff like that, right? So a lot of the new things that I've learned here is different from what we're taught back home, right? So, well, now we have to pay rent. We gotta, when it comes to, treating yourself and taking care of yourself as an adult now, right? All that stuff we learned back home is from who? From our old generation, right? So if we continue to take that old generation and carry it on forward, we're always gonna live by those old habits, right? So I think it's just learning new habits and getting you from where you're at before, just doing better. I think it's our old generation, the school systems that were taught back home, it didn't align with how we should be going forward, So I think for me, it's old habits.
I wrote down a lot of the things that you guys mentioned. Let's break that down. Let's break that down for everybody. Let me start with what Savannah said, education, the lack of education as Pacific Islanders and Tongan Samoans. That's why we don't get ahead. Oftentimes, what I see is having conversations with a lot of my friends growing up, in their mind that the only way that they can get a good education was through sports. If they don't get a scholarship to play sports, then there's no opportunity for them to get a higher level education. And statistically, if you look at the stats, if you get a college degree, it is an indicator, a predictor of making more money and being financially stable. So I think that's something that our people don't understand, and how important it is. If you have the ability to go play sports, God bless you. But most of us are not going to go into the NFL. And I think it's sad to see for me is to a lot of my friends, if they didn't go to college because of sports, or if they weren't offered a scholarship, they just quit. They just stopped there. Luckily for me, I was blessed. I got a scholarship to go play football. But it's sad to see that a lot of my friends that as soon as they didn't make it to the next level, they just quit and then they just got a normal job, right? And at this point right now, a lot of my friends, they're struggling financially. But I think for our people, we need to understand how important it is get an education, because it is an indicator and predictor of making more money. Let's break that down real quick. How important is education, especially when it comes to earning financial stability and be able to have a better quality of life when you start to make more money?
Well, for me, for education, honestly, when I say education, they don't teach finances anymore in school, right? At the local high school, they have, where we live, they have one personal finance class, and it's an elective. It's not mandatory anymore, right? And then even then, right, the basics of what they teach in school, it's not, they don't push it on kids, right? And I know, they teach it in college and things like that, but you would have to go and search for that. So when I talk about education, what I mean is like going out there to seek or have the availability to seek what it is about finances that we need to know.
Okay.
Because I'm also a product of going to college and getting a degree. I went the military route and I got college paid for. But when I got out, I'm not using my degree. You know what I mean? So it just depends on, what you seek out there. I know there's a lot more options now in terms of, going to trade school, like, and not using all that, if college is not for you, because college is not for everyone, right, as
that's
you know,
true. That's true.
Right? It's not for everyone. And even for some people who play sports, right? They're only going for sports, but they're not the greatest at school, but they have to go because they play sports, right? But, I'm a firm believer of, if college is not for you, then it's okay. But at least try to find a trade so you can go and get a certificate for that and then be able to do that. Or if not, becoming an entrepreneur and figuring out what type of business that you can get into that allows you to make that money, or allows you to become financially independent.
Okay.
So
My opinion short, I'd say the school system was set up primarily to teach people how to be great employees.
Facts.
So if that's what you want to be, then you're in the right track.
Yeah.
But for someone that is not content with, just living the mediocre lifestyle, and you want to get ahead, and like what we are harping is we want to be financially free.
Yeah.
This country was made it's the land of and the home of people that want to be free from where they were.
Mhm.
So why come here and become a slave to someone else and build someone else's business?
That's true.
Why not build your own? However, a lot of people don't have that mindset because of, again, goes back to the environment that they're in.
Mhm.
We're just taught this is what you do, this is where you go, and you're limited. But once that capacity, and that's something that I am so grateful for, is you are the product of the 5 to 6 people that you hang around with. So if you're around 5 broke people all day, you're going to be the sixth.
Yeah.
If you're around negative people, you're going to be the sixth.
Yeah.
You know, so the product of the environment. So what does that look like from day in and day out? You know, so I just want to, I'm sure that my brothers here will probably have something to add in addition. So
Yeah, education. I think, yes, it's important, like she said, if you want to be a great employee. But the education that I believe is more important is like the education that you put in for yourself, not that you gain or get from a teacher.
Sure.
For example, like at this point in my life, I think I like educating myself through books, through podcasts. And I think a huge thing for especially entrepreneurs is looking and seeking out mentors, because whatever you want to be successful in, whatever field you want to go into, you got to seek someone that made it, that's doing it, and learn from them and take examples from them and how they got there, and then extrapolate from there and do it, then add your own flavor to get there too. So yeah, that's my education.
Yeah. Okay.
For me, school is a scam. Because if you think about everyone that went to school, have they done anything with their degree?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I think if you're an engineer or in the medical field, those are the education you do need, because those are the few people that actually do their job with their degree.
Yeah.
But everyone else, where are they at now?
Yeah.
Right. So I think school is a scam simply because the government feed off these children.
Yeah.
Hey, go to school, right? We'll give you a loan, but they can't apply for a personal loan, right?
Yeah.
So they dig themselves up with all these student loans because the government knows that you're young enough to go to work to pay me my money back.
Yeah.
Right. And just like Rekha was saying, you know, if you don't, and he was saying that I think I've learned since I've been in the financial industry, I have learned more by reading books.
Yeah.
Right. I've succeeded because I've had a mentor and I have reading myself.
Yeah.
Then there's a reason why they don't have finance in schools. They don't want you to learn these stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, school is a scam. If everyone's out there, if you're still in school, still go to school. I'm trying to ruin your life, but you know, it's totally up to you. Make sure that if you are going to school, make sure that you use, you know, you went to school for a reason. I've seen a lot of kids go to school, graduate, and they're doing something else, and they're still working at Walmart. You know.
Yeah.
So I believe school's a scam.
All right.
So.
I would like to add one thought to that, is that we're not harping on anyone that has received their degree and is doing their thing. That is great. The statistics, though, are that a lot of our people, because that's what we're focusing on, specifically our culture, our people, they're not being set up for success.
Yes.
And the question is why? Because we're just following the pattern that was given to us before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to bring and shed a new light, like look at it this way. You know, I never thought of it that way. I just thought school was the way to go.
Yep.
If you want to make more money, go back to school. Go and do that. We have found in the industry that we're in, people that have gotten every single degree and they still were not making enough.
Mm-hmm.
Masters, doctorates, you name it. They did the time and they came from, you know, out of the country. And they came and sacrificed everything only to find that it still was not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have a degree and you're doing your thing, that is great. We're talking to the people that are still trying to figure out, why am I still in this situation? That's who we want to speak to.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna watch this podcast and go to his parents. Hey, somebody.
This is a scam.
Hey, Dad.
I don't have to go to school.
Hey,
They
Dad,
said on the Kava Club.
Hey, Dad. School's a scam. So I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave school, and he's gonna get his ass beat.
Yeah. But to add on to with that and how we talk, because I mentor a lot of the kids that where we're at right now, right? And a lot of the things that they teach in school, and that's why I would agree with Damien, is stuff that we won't use now, right? I mean, honestly, like I took like algebra 2 or geometry.
You don't use the Pythagorean theorem?
No,
Yeah.
exactly. Right?
Excuse me?
Right? I don't need to know and knowing, you know, obviously the different, like in knowing like the, what do you call it? The table what do you call it?
The
The periodic table, right? And knowing that, I mean, yes, is that information that we should know? Obviously, right? I mean, sure. But in carrying it over from what I know now, like one of the things that we're missing and lacking in school is everyday things and them becoming an adult, tangible things. So is our topic today a huge part of that? Absolutely, when it comes to finances, right? But even along the ways of like, obviously home economics, how do you wash the dishes? How do you do your laundry, right? How do you pay your rent? Like things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't do that, you know, in school anymore. And now it's like all electives. And so they're in a sense tainting the way that our kids are being taught of like, you need to know how to do an MLA or APA format. Like who in the world uses that anymore?
Elon Musk had a podcast and said he has teachers come and teach his kids, not the school stuff.
Oh yeah,
but stuff that the kids
need to know.
What needs to know, right? And I think that's important because we're gonna waste a lot of our time teaching kids unuseful stuff that we're not gonna use in our daily lives, right? And I think Elon Musk had a huge point when he said, just teach them the trades that they need, so that they could use in their daily life, right? And I think that's important because shoot. I graduated, by the way. I graduated in June.
Hey.
Do I need it? I only went to school because I wanted to be the first in my family to have a degree. But do I need a degree to succeed? No, I don't. It's just a
You scam artist.
right?
hypocrite.
Keep up with it.
This guy right here.
By the way,
School's a scam, but I got my degree.
but I graduated in June.
Here's the difference. I went to school for free, guys. So,
Yep.
hey.
Yep, I did too.
So
I
if
did
it's
too.
free,
You're still a scam. But yeah, you know, so just, you know, it's teaching our kids the things that they need so that they could succeed in life, not the stuff they don't know.
Can we have that debate about is going to college a scam? Let me present why. For me, is if you know exactly what you want and what you want to do,
Yes.
and you need to learn a certain skill set to be successful, like a doctor,
Okay.
you definitely need to go to college to learn.
Yes.
Right. But the majority of us don't know what our major is or what we want to do. And I think if you don't know what to do, it's a waste of time to go to college, because we still need skilled people in their professions, like lawyers, doctors, engineers. Like they need to go to learn how to the Pythagorean Theorem. They need to, they need to learn how to be successful, and school can offer that. But I also agree that if you don't know what to do, then you're wasting time. You should go out there and figure out what you want to do, and not waste 4 years of a life.
Yes.
Where you can use that same 4 years to invest into something that you truly wanted to do, whether it's a trade, whether it's, let me try entrepreneurship, let me try something new.
Yep.
But so I think it's necessary, because sometimes when we have the conversation, it's more one-sided.
Right.
College is a scam, right? I do agree with you. It is a scam for me, in my perspective, if you don't know what to do, which is the majority of you. And that's why that statistic is true. Most people who get a degree, they don't use it, right? They end up going to a different industry that's opposite of the degree, because you went into something that you didn't know. You didn't really know what to do, but you just did it because everybody else was doing it. The reason why people go to school is pressure. Right? From friends, from families, and or status quo of society.
Right.
If you have to go to school. What I want to offer a lot of people is, if you don't know what to go for school, try something else. The great thing is that you can always go to school later if you change your mind.
Exactly.
It's not something that you always have to do in your 20s, right? And I think sometimes it's been conditioned that I can only go to school in my 20s, and then if I go when I'm older, it's looked down upon. If I'm an older person. I think that's my perspective. It's necessary, if you know exactly what you want. And I think some people, by 18, coming out of high school, they know exactly what they want to do. Great for them. But if you're the majority of people that have no idea what you want to do, I don't think school is for you. I think you should try to figure out what you want to do and go try things.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So for me, I think I don't, like you said, I don't think college is necessarily a scam. I think it just needs to be designed better.
Yeah.
For example, like we do need the STEM, like science, technology, engineering, math. We need that.
We need that. Yep.
But why do we have to go straight from high school to an undergrad and take all these classes when majority of these kids don't even know what they're going to go into?
Exactly.
So it's like, if you know what you want to go into, there should be a certain school for that.
Trade
school.
Yeah.
Trade
Trade
But
school.
no, but like in order to be a doctor, you have to go to undergrad.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't think you should go to undergrad to go become a doctor. I think
go
you
to
should
med
just
school,
go straight to med school and learn the medical field, rather than go to waste your time in undergrad and take all these electives just to become a doctor. I think that's the scammy
Yeah.
part of college. You know what I mean?
But you know why they do that, right? It's money.
It's money.
It
It
is
is
a
all.
business.
It's all
That's
business. A business.
It is business, so they'll
That's
give
how
you.
the government makes their money.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
go to school, learn these electives,
Mhm.
and then go to
Yeah,
right.
it's
learn
just
all
more
this
money
stuff.
for them.
It is.
Right.
It's that's why I say it's a scam. But for those that are actually doing something with it, like the main important fields, engineering, right,
Yeah.
Yep.
medical, those guys should go to school.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but everyone else, because I'm a recruiter in Los Angeles. A lot of the kids that I sit down with, a lot of them say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this," and then 4 years later they graduate, they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I'm ready to join the army.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with my degree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think it just depends on the person and what they're actually trying to do with their life. Because a lot of them change degrees in the
Yeah,
middle of their
that's true.
right now. They
Sure.
got to go to more school,
Yeah.
dig more, finance their student.
Yeah.
Right. So it just depends on the kids
Yeah.
themselves, right? I think a lot of them, like you said, they were pressured by friends. Oh, my girlfriend's going to the school. I'm gonna follow her, right? So
Is that what you did?
Excuse me.
But because a lot of kids that we talked to about trying to join the army, that's exactly what they said,
Yeah.
right? Some of them don't want to join the army because my girlfriend said no. It's like, I need to ask your girlfriend for her permission,
Yeah.
so that you could go to school or join the army, right? So it's totally up to the person, but I think a lot of them is what they were told and pressured when they were in high school
Yeah.
and what to do going forward. Because towards graduation, guess what their family are doing? What are you going to do with your life,
Yeah.
right? So it's everyone just don't. They just think they know, but they don't know,
Yeah.
right? So still, school's a scam to me.
Also, I do want to add one. I think a positive, especially if you're a kid that's really smart, you're able to put in the work to qualify to go to a great school.
Mhm.
I think one of the positives of going to a good school is the network.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive. So if I have a good friend of mine who went to Ivy League, all the kids there are going to be the future, multi-millionaires because they come from good families. They come from great wealth. So he has a network of people that he would never had an opportunity to meet if he never went to that Ivy League school. So, I mean, if you know exactly what you want, but I think also that's one positive of college, because I met some people in college that I'm still friends with today that helped me out, especially when it comes to business and finances.
Yeah.
It's just because I ran into them in college, right? So networking is important, and you guys all know how important networking is. I think that's also positive, thinking about the network, especially if you're going to an Ivy League school. I think that's the network, the type of people, the type of people you would meet in those types of levels. If you had to break it down from a cost-benefit analysis, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
To go to the Ivy League school and meet the grandchild of Bill Gates.
I just want to add the portion that is so heavily weighed upon when it comes to school and finances is the finance part.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to an Ivy League school, or if you want to go to a school in general. Like, they put a lot of emphasis right now in this generation on getting into these really cool schools.
Yeah.
And I know if you've watched the Netflix series about what's it called?
The college admission scandal.
Admission scam,
Mhm.
but
Yep.
is going to it because it's cool, it's hip, but not realizing the bill that has to be
Paid.
forfeited.
Yeah.
At the end of this, you don't just get your job and then you're, oh, okay, all is well. You've got to pay back this, the time. And so, I think that's probably the only thing that I would caveat to if you're going to go to school, make sure not only do you know what you're doing, like the degree, but also knowing how you're going to fund this.
Yes.
Like the importance of, I know both spectrums, people that are like, I know how I'm going to pay for it. I know they're like budgeting because they've learned up until that point how to do that. And then I've seen the opposite. I'll figure it out after.
Yeah.
Let's just sign the paperwork. And then it's like, oh my gosh, 4 years, 5 years later, I'm left with this whopping bill that is now looming over me. So
I think that's why a lot of people think it's a scam, because they end up taking loans for something that they're never going to use later. So that's why people have that resentment later. Oh,
Yes.
this is a scam right here.
that's
But ain't that crazy that if you're 18, you can apply for a student loan, but you cannot apply for a personal loan or credit card?
I know.
That's why I truly believe the government knows what they're doing and say, hey, I'll give these student loans to our kids. By the time they graduate at 4 year, they dug themselves for $200,000 in student loans. That's money that the government's going to get back.
Yeah.
And student loans are the only one, the loans that you can't file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The only loans.
Wow.
You cannot file bankruptcy on student loans. Why? Because they know you're young enough to go to work to
Yeah.
pay me my
To
freaking
pay.
money.
Yeah.
Literally. And that's why I think it's a total scam. Even man, what's his name? The Rockefellers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about it.
They said, you know, I don't want a world full of thinkers. I want a world full of
Workers.
Workers. Yeah.
which is why we go to school. A lot of people don't think that we're going to school. How come they don't teach us how to become business owners?
Yeah.
But we're taught to be what?
Workers.
Workers.
Yeah.
W-2 employees. Right. So that's why when people leave college, the first thing they're going to do is what? Apply for jobs.
Yeah.
Not go open up a business. Right. So that's why I keep calling it a scam, because it's the government using that to get their money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the money, majority of the money comes from, because there's a lot of kids in the United States going to school.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna caveat off of that, because I get what you're saying, but I don't think we can do that, because this country's built off of employees. You know what I mean? And so we need employees. We need majority of the people to be working, not running businesses, because I think it takes a lot of higher level thinking and education to run a business. And so I don't think everyone can be a business owner.
I think the right person will come out and say, yeah, I'm going to go open up the business. Because they're going to see the two different, the W-2 employee and then becoming a business owner. Which one are you going to be, right? Do you want to work for the rest of your life, or do you want to own a business where eventually you're going to have passive residual income coming in?
Yeah.
Right? Because it just depends on the person. Like, I was a W-2 employee. I used to have that mindset until I came into the financial industry. I was like, look, I don't even want to work after I get out of the Army. I got 2 more years till I retire in the Army. I don't want to work again. Right. So that's why, you know, shifting from a W-2 employee mentality into a business owner mentality is where we need to be, because a lot they harp on it. Yes, we do need, right?
Yeah.
But those people are going to stay there as long as they think like a W-2 employee.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. I do agree. I mean, I'm not going to disregard the fact that it is a business at the end of the day. They have their own incentive and their own motives to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to build their plan, especially when it comes to colleges, to make the most money they can. So that's why I agree with you. You know, the way we are brought up in school is conditioning us to be employees and workers. And so I agree with that. And I'm not disregarding that fact, but I also agree with you is the reality is most people don't want to be entrepreneurs. Right? Most people don't have what it takes to be entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of people just content with a normal 9-to-5 life. But the thing what most people want is to have financial stability so they can live a good quality life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a millionaire to live a good quality life,
Absolutely.
right? And I think that sometimes that for me is when we are too one-sided one times, we're just talking about entrepreneurship, it's a scam. You're usually talking about people like you. But the reality is most people aren't like you.
Right.
Most people are average, and that's just the reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good to have both conversations. And the way I see it is, I understand it is a business. They're going to take advantage of you, but use college. Don't let college use you. That's the way I see it. So if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you just want to have a family, have kids, work that 9-to-5, have your weekends off, but you just want to make sure that you want to make enough money where you guys don't have to struggle, then then that's cool. All right, then figure out what college you need to go to, whether you need to college or you need to go to the trade school, what skills you need to make whatever salary that you need for your life, depending where you live in America, right? So if you need to make 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, whatever that number is for you to live a good quality of life and take care of your kids, then I think that's what people need to figure out for themselves. And I think sometimes when we talk about entrepreneurship, even though I do believe in entrepreneurship, but it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
And oftentimes people who are not, and I don't know if you guys seen this, people who are not built to be entrepreneurs are being pushed to become entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And they fail miserably, right? When they could have just been a great worker.
Then they call it a scam.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not a scam. It's just it's not.
Some people are not built for it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Which goes back to her point. Do what's best for you,
Mhm.
right? Take the information. Do you want to become an entrepreneur? Do you want to go to college? What do you want, right? Also, what's missing from this conversation, something you guys brought up, trade school. I was reading some statistics. People make more money going to trade school than go to college.
For sure.
And businesses are more willing to hire somebody from a trade school because you're learning the trade.
Yep.
You have practical experience and real life experience on that trade. So you're more attractive when you go apply for these jobs when they come from a trade school, because there was an article, if I can pull it up, but they don't want to hire kids from school because you have no real life experience.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right.
That part.
That's why a lot of times, unless you come from a really good school, Ivy League,
Right.
but if you come from if you come
Yale or
if you come from CSM, I'm CCSF, so I just throw that shot out. But if you come from a normal community college or regular college, they're not going to give you any time of day. They're always going to take that person with the more real life experience. So trade school is something that it's not being talked about a lot. I think if you're watching this right now, if you have a specific trade that you really want to go into, go to the trade school, avoid going to college, and just dedicate 2 or 3 years of your life. And you have a degree, you have a certificate,
Right.
and it's more attractive to employers. Yeah.
That's true. There's electricians out there that makes more.
Lineman.
Yeah.
Lineman
You know,
makes 6 figures. And
makes 6 figures.
Than a lawyer.
Trade school.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, it just depends on, like you said, everyone has choices, right? So if you want to become an entrepreneur, then you choose to be. If you want to become W-2 employee, you choose to be, right? You choose your own path.
Right.
But again, you're right. Trade school goes a long way when it comes to learning the trade and getting out there and getting the job done. You know, if you want to get your hands dirty as an electrician, I've seen female electricians making a lot more than some of the guy electricians,
Yeah.
So trade school is really important, and they're killing it more than people are going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm curious on what the future of this country looks like, because I know the numbers of like trade applicants is like declining like drastically.
Yeah.
Plumbers, electricians, construction workers, like the amount of people, like all the older generations that were in those fields are retiring. And a lot of the younger generations like, I'd rather play a video game or, do a lot of the technology like based stuff. So I'm kind of curious on what the future holds.
The way I see it is that's good for the plumbers because supply and demand. You're gonna make more money if there's less of them. They're gonna make a lot of money. Make a lot of money. So but I do agree with you. Yeah, that's gonna be a concern.
Equality, because if they're desperate, because most workers are working long hours and they're underpaid.
Yeah.
So even though there's supply and demand, is there enough plumbers to get in the area, or they're just like, forget it, I'm just going to hire Joe Schmo and like bring him on, even though he doesn't have the quality.
Supply of housing's down. We don't have enough builders.
Right.
So
Well, I think that problem is going to fix itself because when we don't have enough people in the industry, what's going to happen to incentivize them to get into that industry? They're going to increase the level of pay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they find out plumbers are making 150, 200 grand.
Let me go to trade.
And then the implementation of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
You see they're building houses with the 3D printer.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. That's crazy. And then they connect them.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I need a hurricane test on those on those houses.
Right.
I kind of want to shift to something that I think you said about the patterns that we learn growing up. My parents, some of the older generation, is something that when specifically we talk about finances, what I want to ask you guys, what was the patterns and what was your relationship with money, with finances growing up as a kid? I think one of the things one pattern I saw growing up and I had to unlearn was, because we all come from Pacific Islanders, majority of us grew up in very religious families, and one of the things I've always heard from my family was money is evil. Don't make money because the more money you make, the more evil and greedy you become. All right, and which I learned is it's absolutely false because the church asks for money.
Yes.
So if it's not evil, then why you ask us every Sunday? But it is a reality in the world. You do need money. You do need finances to live a quality life, to buy things. And I think for me, the way I see money is just a tool. All right. The way you use it can depend on if it's good or evil.
Yes.
Right. There's a lot of good in this world done by people who make a lot of money. Right. The people that we work for, paying your bills and paying your salary. We need people like that. Right. So money is what runs the world. That was one pattern I saw. And when I tried to pursue something, especially when I got my first job making money, I was working in sales and I was working a lot of hours. I remember making my first $1,000 paycheck for a week. That was a lot to me, but I had to work 60 hours for that. And I had to miss a lot of families' obligations and social gatherings and functions. And a lot of times my family would criticize me. It was like, why are you working all these hours, always missing our functions? Money isn't everything. Money, the more you make money, you're going to become evil. You're going to lose your faith. You're not coming to these, you're missing church because you have to work, because we worked on Sundays. It was It was a sales job, so we worked every single day. And that used to, there were certain times I wanted to quit and just listen to them, because I did feel like it was morally wrong for me to miss these things. But then I realized later, like, regardless, we need money. And if I want to take care of my parents, if I want to take care of the people I care about, it's not going to be my faith. All right. It's going to be money.
Yeah.
And that's the reality I had to understand. And that's when I shifted my thinking that money is a good thing. If I do it for the right reasons and I'm doing it for the right people, then it's a beautiful thing that can change your life and impact the people that you love and care about. But that was just one pattern I just wanted to share for me. So I want to pass it back to you guys. You guys have been in this industry. What are patterns that you guys saw growing up that you either have to, maybe you have to learn or unlearn in order for you to take it to the next level and get to where you guys are at right now? And let me start from this side.
For me is, it's our culture and our tradition where we have to give back, right? I don't think that was a thing. I think that was just something that they was taught back then, right? But for me, it's if there's like follow love is real. Like when funerals and stuff like that happens, like why should we put together money to give? If that's if you're gonna get married, you should save up for that. Like that's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. So I think for me is I respect our culture and how that's done, but I don't need to do it. Right. Because I even have a family of my own to take care of. Right. Yeah. My mom and those guys need to take care of it. Certain things like if sometimes my grandpa calls like, hey, this person passed away. I was like, who is this guy? Right. And has he ever put money in for me? Right. Now I got to break my back. Right. And I have to pay back the loan that if I do get a loan to give money to that guy that I don't even know. Right. But we need to learn how to say no, to be honest. We need to learn how to say no, because at the end of the day, you're going to be withheld with the burden of paying that money back that you gave for someone you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So I think personally, in my opinion, before that they need to take care of their family. They need to have a plan in place and not depend on other people's family, right? Yes, the thought counts when family brings together the money to give out. But I think if you have your own family, you're responsible to take care of your family, right? If you're the man of the house, make sure you have something to cover it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to call another man and ask him for some money to help support my family, right? That's stupid, in my opinion. Okay. But we have to learn that, right? I respect the culture, but we have stuff in place to handle stuff like that, So I know our parents are old school. I love my mom to death because she never asked me for money. Yeah. But I always give her money for just because, right? Yeah. My grandfather calls all the time. He'll talk, see how I'm doing, and it's like, all right. Now that's out of the way. Hey, there's this wedding, right? So it's, and sometimes if you have to learn to say no, but you don't have to give them the amount that they're asking for. Hey, I want $2,000. You know what? I'm gonna give you $200. Yeah. It's the thought that counts, right? Yeah. But if the family thinks that that's bad, then something's wrong with them. Yeah. Something's wrong with them. I coupe, right? That means how do you say? Money hungry, greedy. Yeah. Right. So they're asking other people for money when they could have planned for this, right? Yeah. Because we're all gonna die in this world. Yeah. Right. So we need to prepare for events like that. Yeah. And that's my opinion, guys. Thank you.
That family member is gonna come for you.
I know, right?
Change my last
name. Money. Money is probably one of the most important things that we can have in this life, whether we're here in America or another country. It is what it is. But I think, like you said, you got to use that as a tool. Yeah. Once you start, and in the religion, category, I think they talk about the love of money. Yeah. When you love money to the point where you abuse it. Yeah. Versus, I think that's when things start going downhill. But my relationship with money was terrible growing up. We come from a family that was just so used to working hard and living paycheck to paycheck. Didn't know anything about how money works. Maybe in a later podcast we can break down the rules of money and how the money game works. Yeah. But we were never taught how to invest. We were never taught annual yield percentage, compound interest, any of that stuff. But yeah, I think money is the most important thing that anyone can have. And there's a reason why I read this thing. It was like the money is like a wave of energy, and that's why they call it currency.
Oh,
You know, and what is one thing that in our industry that's very important when we teach people the importance of cash flow.
Yeah.
Bro, it's crazy. We can break that down later. But again, it's a great tool because you need money for a home, you need money for your health, you need money for everything.
Yeah.
So it's like for people to be like, money isn't everything. Yes, it is. Because if you don't, but you just have to learn how to use it. If you're just spending it on unnecessary things, like I get it, like people with kids, I love my nieces and nephews, but instead of buying them a toy or something they're just going to throw away,
waste.
why not just open them a savings account and put their money in there and let it grow versus buying them a toy? Like that's the level of growth that I've seen with money from what we grew up in. And so
Real quick, when somebody always tell me money isn't everything, why are you asking me for money?
it's crazy.
And
Why you asking?
It's usually the ones that are telling us that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, money's not. It's got cool. Can I get $2,000 for?
Why are you asking me for money then?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like that's where it becomes the difference between making it, right? Because you can make it as an employee or you can make it as an entrepreneur or a business owner. Those are the different ways to make the money. And as an employee, it's like it is unfortunate because you have to exchange your time to make that money.
Yeah.
As a business owner, you're leveraging the employee to make the money for you, so you have more time. So it's just like the different methods of getting that money is crazy, but the money is it's gonna get to someone's hand.
Yeah, it's important. That's something that we have to address for everybody. It is very important. It puts people at a disadvantaged position to convince them that belief that money isn't important until real life hits them.
Right.
And a lot of times when you tell it to the younger kids, they don't understand that until they go out there to the real world.
Exactly.
And imagine going out to the real world as an 18-year-old with the idea that money isn't everything. Man, life is going to hit you hard.
Life hit me hard when I joined the military at 18.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish. Yeah.
It's crazy because, I lived paycheck to paycheck when I was 18.
Yeah.
I've even have to call my mom for money.
Yeah.
It's like, they don't pay you well in the military. I was like, if only you knew what I was spending my money on. I'm always going out, right? Like, it's crazy at 18.
Yeah.
Sure.
But also imagine if you 18-year-old and he has a mindset of everything you just broke down. Man, that's a dangerous person. Right? Imagine with that mindset going to 18,
right?
All that knowledge, that's a different way of understanding. But most kids aren't going like that. And that's why a lot of people are struggling.
I want to say that money will take on the identity of the person who holds it.
Mm.
And so before I go into that,
I was like, all right, well,
This Kava's about to
I still have some.
Gems.
So, my experience growing up, like my brother, we didn't have the best example of how to use and how to save money as a tool. We just saw it as, I want something, this is how I get it. I need to make more if I want to get the nicer, shinier, flashier things. And that's the problem, is that we spend so much time making money to buy things to impress people we don't even like. And that's the problem with society, is the pressure of having to get nicer things without realizing the consequences. Because, again, like I said, money will take on the identity of the person who holds it. So if you have never had good habits growing up on how to put a budget together, how to plan ahead, then you're constantly going to abuse money. You could have all the money in the world. There are people that have been millionaires and they're flat out broke now because they took on the identity of, I have it and I'm going to use it. I'm going to spend it. And they didn't know how to, master the fact of starting with a budget, and knowing that there's a difference between needs and wants. You can always have the opportunity to splurge and get nice things, right? But the people that are wealthy and remain wealthy are like that because they mastered the art of knowing that the habits that they have met, that maybe you didn't start out that way. And that's what I'm here to say, is that even though I didn't come from a home that taught how to budget and how to, I still had parents that taught good qualities of giving and being able to give to people that are in need, and being able to give us what we needed. We didn't have everything, but we had what we needed growing up. And I believe that is something that you take the good, leave the bad.
Yes.
And especially because my parents didn't know anything before that. They're coming into contact, and every generation is coming in contact with more money. But the problem is, what are we doing with it? What have you learned before that you can take for the next generation? The Bible talks about leaving something for the next generation. A good man leaves something for the next generation. And the question is, a lot of us, I didn't come into inheritance.
Yeah.
I don't know about those sitting here,
Not that you know.
Not yet.
Mom, Dad.
Yeah. But I want to be able to do that for the next generation, with the caveat that there are, the thing people don't talk about, wills and living trusts.
Oh, man.
Because imagine you thinking, I'm going to make sure the next generation is set up, but you don't put wills and like a living trust in place to say, I'm not just giving you 6 figures so you can go spend it on the bad habits. That's something that I learned in this industry, is like, not just thinking about leaving something, but having it in place to where it's like making sure that good habits are being passed on as well.
Right.
So.
All right.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
That was a lot. No, to add on, I mean, I don't know if anybody's heard the term like a trust fund baby.
Yeah.
Right. A trust fund baby. And I know that sometimes there's like a stigma around that.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, you're just a trust fund baby. I was like, that's actually a great thing,
Yeah,
right? Because it's like, that means your parents actually thought about leaving you this money to continue on. Obviously, not all trust fund babies are the greatest because they use that money in the wrong ways. But when you hear trust fund baby, now that I'm in this industry, all I can do is just like, did you thank your parents, or your grandparents for doing that for you? Like, yes, you're probably taking advantage of your wealth, but it's like, congratulations to your parents and your grandparents or whoever left that legacy for you, because they thought about you way before you even thought about, what you're doing with your money now. And then the second thing, when you're talking about and being in this industry, what you're doing with what little you have will also tell what you'll do with much when you get a lot.
Yeah.
And my prime example is, I think you just had said it, somebody who won the lottery.
Yeah,
Lottery, right?
Yeah.
That's
Prime.
like, if you look at all of like the statistics for like a lot of the lottery winners,
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably all flat out broke now.
Yeah.
Because they just came into a chunk of money, not knowing what their current situation is right now. But now they just got all this money, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go buy the world. Like, I'm going to go spend it on all this, and not knowing how to properly manage that huge chunk of money because they were flat out broke, or they were living paycheck to paycheck before they even came into this money.
Same
Right.
with professional athletes.
Yeah, athletes.
Yes,
Yeah.
athletes
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
celebrities, right? There's a lot.
Chat boy.
Chat, yes, right. His is a huge story because, he's a huge actor. He's the Black Panther, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
So when he passed away, he didn't have a will and living trust, right? And so his family, to include his wife or his parents and his wife, they were all fighting over his chunk of money.
Okay.
They're in probate for a very long time. So imagine how many fees and stuff like that there was, right? And so I don't remember the actual amount, but half of his money that he had went to fees and court costs.
Yeah.
So his family ended up, we're like, you know what, we'll just
Split
split it. You get half and we get half.
Yeah.
And they only ended up with like what, 1.2 million, or when yet they could have had more than that. But anyways, so to go back with my experience with money and growing up. So my parents are givers. huge
Yeah.
givers for that matter. And, you know, I was a product of garage sale clothes and toys and,
Yeah.
you know, Goodwill, by the way, at that time was too bougie for my mom. So we had Salvation Army instead and Savers. And so, you know, which was funny because in seeing and actually talking about it now, like my mom was more of, you know, garage sales and, you know, Savers and Salvation Army. And my dad was like Banana Republic and they don't, and like the Gap Company. And it was like two huge different things, which was crazy, but it allowed us kids to understand the value of having money and what to do with it. Right. So my dad would be a spender and then my mom would be like, we're going to save and do this instead, because then you guys could have more experiences and time compared to, do you really need to spend $100 on that Banana Republic shirt? Or can we go and have a field day at garage sales and Goodwill with that $100, right? So my experience with money was, you know, obviously wasn't the greatest because even them, they didn't know how to do compound interest. They didn't know how, you know, what they knew is what they knew, which was, hey, you have a savings account. Cool, great. But that's it, right? They didn't know how to make their money grow. All they knew was they'll take care of their kids, take care of their family. And then also, if anybody asked, they would give it away, right? No matter what it is, because, you know, they're firm believers in the Lord as well. So it's like, if they give, obviously they're going to receive tenfold. And that's been their philosophy ever since. That's still how they are right now. And so, you know, in growing up and not understanding and coming into this industry and not knowing about retirements and compound interest and like what are high yield savings, like, you know, how do we make our money make more money? Like I didn't know that. Me and my siblings didn't grow up on that. So
Yeah, just to add on to what she said, that you know why a lot of those athletes or people who win the lottery end up becoming broke. I think that's a reflection of what you said. You know, your money takes the identity of yourself. So you can inherit, win the lottery, make a lot of money, or get drafted into the NFL and inherit a lot of money, but your mentality is still broke. It's still poor.
Yes.
So that's why you still a couple of years later, and you know it's sad to see those athletes, right, make hundreds of millions of dollars,
Right.
And then 5, 6, 7 years later, you know they're living paycheck to paycheck and struggling financially.
it's not even just athletes. There's a lot of celebrities,
Yeah,
you know, come in who do like major movies, and then all of a sudden they're like working, you know, they're working at the local grocery store, and you're like, aren't you a celebrity? Like, aren't you a famous actor or actress? And they're working at the local grocery store because they lost all their money.
They lost all their money. That's tough.
It's crazy.
For the sake of the content and the audience that's watching, I know you guys come from the financial industry. How would one go about setting that up if they have no idea how to do that, how to start that, for the people who are watching this right now? If you guys want to offer some ways, some steps.
So we do offer wills and trusts. If you become a client with us, it's free. But if you don't become a client with us, and you just strictly want wills and trusts, we have lawyers and that we could set you up with, and they will take care of you. Literally, we could just refer you to them, and we have like 60 lawyers. They will sit you down, schedule a Zoom meeting, go over your whatever you want to add to your wills and trusts, and they will take care of all that. We don't, because we're not lawyers. We're just, you know, we're just the ones that play the middleman, just get them, you know, set up and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy. We just set up the thing. They will call them, set the appointment, and they'll be taken care of.
Okay.
But I think that's very important to have, because you always have someone in your family that's not responsible, right?
Yeah.
In case an inheritance is left behind, it's not left with someone that's irresponsible and not, you know, that's not savvy with money. Because he might just blow that money in one shot.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's very important to have a wills and trust to create a strict stipulation and instruction on what to do with your legacy.
Yeah.
Because it takes one person to ruin your generational wealth that you're trying to pass on to our next generation. Right. So, but yeah, we take care of that. And it's pretty simple.
Which I just wanted to add on how important it is to have a will and living trust, other than all the stuff that we already talked about. But it should be an emotional appointment and meeting, because if you're just, I don't know if everybody's on here has seen like a movie that has like the reading of the will, right? You're like, oh, I wonder what Uncle Johnny left me, or like what my mom or dad, like, oh, you know, and then of course, if you don't hear your name, they're like, how dare you? Like, you know, like they're already passed away and they left it to your brothers, you know, or their stepmom or something like that, right? And so you're pissed. But So if you're creating your generational wealth, like it should be an emotional meeting and sitting, because you should be able to literally think about this stuff. Like, who are you leaving all your assets to? Who are you leaving all your money to? Who are you wanting to create and continue on the legacy, of your last name, right? Of your family. And even more so, like, obviously, if you could have that one uncle who's crazy, like Damien said, right? Who's going to go and
like Damien.
Like crazy Uncle Damien. Scam artist.
But it's just my opinion of making sure, and I tell a lot of my clients this, like, if you are really thinking about doing a wills and living trust, like, don't take that lightly. Don't just go in and say, like, oh, I want my husband to be my beneficiary. I was like, okay, cool. Did you put all the stipulations? Like, oh, no, they'll take care of it. I was like, that's not the point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally sitting down and actually going through it. Like, if you have a kid, or if you have kids, like when they turn 18, you don't want them, when you pass away, to just have $1 million each right out the bat, right? You want to be able to literally stipulate, hey, if you decide, I have one of my clients who's like, hey, if my kid decides, my daughter decides to go and be an entrepreneur and be a business owner, great. They can have 10,000 of, my inheritance, right? And if it doesn't work out, after 2 years, then cool. They have a separate amount. They can have $20,000 for them to go to school if they decide to go to school. And, being able to literally, when I say that, it has to be like an emotional appointment, because they have to literally put, their thinking minds on to literally structure it on what it is that they want their legacy to look like after they're gone.
Yeah, you got to think about the years that they put in to build that legacy, right? And then once 40 years done, and it just takes that 1%.
It's done.
There you go. Forgot your last name, right? So wills and trusts are really important, and it has to be an emotional event to sit down and actually structure everything. It can be something saying like, hey, I want this $100 going to this person at this date.
Right.
That will happen if you put it
Exactly.
in, right?
Yeah.
So or you can, like, if they're not 18 yet, right? So you can have instructions saying that at 18, I want this lump sum of money going into her account. She cannot touch it, and then pay her every month at this amount, and that way she has an allowance or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just giving her the entire $1 million, they have it in there, and then boom, what do I do with it?
Yeah, that's the worst.
Gone.
So
And a lot of us, like at this table, I can speak for the four of us that are here. We didn't come from a rich family, but we made a decision consciously that a rich family is going to come from us.
Yeah.
And it's not rich just in wealth. It's rich in the way you think, the way you handle money, because a lot of us can make lots of money, but can you get back time? We want to make sure that we're building something that can allow us to have more time, because, and one of those ways is, let's say one of us has a sick parent. How are you going to pay those medical bills if they're, we're seeing that more and more. If we're going back to the broke mentality, we're watching our family members go through. And the number one reason why people file bankruptcy in this country is medical bills. They cannot keep up with all of the bills. You have health insurance, but is it going to cover if uncle or auntie or mom or dad gets cancer? It's only going to cover a portion of it, and that carries on to the next generation. We're watching that happen. We're watching that unfold. And, we have things like long-term care, living benefits, things that we didn't even know, like the things that people think is you only have life insurance when you pass away. No one understands like that in this day and age, you can actually use it while you're still alive. And one of those things is to cover medical expenses. And so I think it's important to bring that portion up, because, and here's an example as to why wills and living trust is important. We were on a training about wills and living trust. And I had a mom who was a client of ours, and she had, I think it was like $750,000, and she gave it all to her son. Before she passed away, her son had been struggling with an addiction, drugs. Guess what happened to all that money? He used it all on drugs. And he literally passed away. And that's the statistic, is that families are leaving behind a good chunk of money to the next to their kin,
Yeah.
next of kin or whatever, and but not thinking about, is this really a smart idea?
Mhm.
Had she known prior, like maybe I should probably, but she was already sick and ill, and this was already put in place, and which goes back to, it's really important to really think about this, and it's not talked about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Speaking of addiction, I have a random curious question. You guys talked about stipulations that you guys can put on your trust. Can you put consequences on your stipulations? Say if I had a son and I put on my trust, if he becomes a degenerate, he does not receive you only get this amount or something like that. Can you do that on your trust? Or is it like, can you put like, if he does this, he only gets this, or he doesn't get this?
I'll be on. I'm not sure because that's a instruction. That's a conversation that you're gonna have
with the lawyers.
With the lawyer.
But I'm sure. I'm
pretty sure you can.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Because it's your wealth.
money.
Yeah.
And you're literally writing in there what you want to do with that money that you're passing on to your kids or whoever. And so I mean, if you're like gonna limit them, like I think you could be as specific as you want. Like I was talking with one of my colleagues like last week, and she had mentioned to me that her parents had a living trust, and it was like a binder like this thick.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, I don't even know. I didn't even read it. I don't know if there's money for me, but it's just me and my brother. I'm just gonna let my brother read it and blah blah blah. I'm like,
But you see, with that mentality,
Yeah.
there's people out there that really thinks like that.
There's a lot of people.
Until that day comes, now they're gonna want to read it.
Exactly.
Like, damn, what did I miss? Oh, I get this right. So it's but people don't think when it comes to stuff like that when it's too late, right? Once it's too late, it's done. But sometimes you got to read into that before it happens, because, for example, my grandfather's still alive. I need to know what he has in case something does happen. Let's add that to the wills and trusts so that my hungry auntie and uncles come out of nowhere and say, hey, this belongs because this goes to the oldest grandchild. Like, who are you again?
Yeah.
No, the thing is on my name, but since you guys want to fight over it, it's under my name, and let's discuss it as family instead of you guys trying to fight over it, right? So I think it's very important to read into stuff like that before they go, right? And because once that happens and she finally reads it, it's all too late.
Yeah.
yeah. So to answer your question, I think you should get one and then consult with the legal team and see what
It's good to know.
do. Yeah.
But you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever you want.
But it goes back to, I mean, it comes back to full circle when we were talking about how, when you ask the question, like a lot of people say that money isn't everything.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden when they have whether we're reading a wills and living trust, like say if anything does happen, to his grandfather, like Uncle, Auntie, Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo will come out of nowhere and be like, oh, okay. All of a sudden they're sitting in the room and you're like, weren't you just the one who just said that money wasn't everything? Like, and all of a sudden you're here, you're like, oh, what is that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's a lot of people saying that money isn't everything, but yet it does make the world go around, right?
It's right up there with oxygen.
It literally is.
That's Brian
Right.
Tracy.
Yep.
He said that. No, and just the last part for this conversation. One thing I have learned now as a habit of mine compared to when I was younger, when I was 18, I'm very frugal right now when it comes to saving money. And you're talking about wants and needs. And I think I do agree this generation of flexing online has created a lot of people doing things online and buying things they definitely don't need, just because for the validation or for the attention or trying to impress people they don't really care about.
Don't even know.
I don't even know, right? Every single dollar I make, I always invest it back to my business.
Yes.
But then when it comes to my needs, I still shop at Goodwill.
Basics.
If I have to buy a pair of socks, it doesn't matter if I buy it from Goodwill, if I buy it from Nike, a good brand. I think people get caught up with the brands.
Yep.
But when it comes to my basic needs, I'll go shop at the most cheapest store. Well, now if it comes to something I want or something I definitely need to invest into my business, if I have a business meeting, I need to buy a good suit, then I'll invest into it. But when it comes to my basic human needs just to survive, I'm not going to spend. If I can buy $2 socks from Goodwill compared to going to a Nike store and buying $15 because of the brand, and nobody will see my socks anyway. Right, if I wear it. That's just something I've learned over time. That's just growing older, especially if you have a plan for yourself and you're trying to invest to get a certain outcome. Saving your money, that's something I wish I would have learned back in the day. When I was more younger, I was making a lot of money, and you guys can all attest to this. If you had to add up all the money that you spent, right?
I think about that all the time.
Think about
Oh my
that?
gosh.
I promise you, hey, if I look back at my younger years and all the money I spent on dumb shit, on things I didn't.
We can cuss on
Yeah.
that wrong.
But yeah, buying things I wanted to impress, because we all done that. Buying things that we wanted to impress people that didn't really care about us. Man, if I took all that money and saved it, man, I'll be a far ahead now. Compared to where I'm at right now. But that's something you just have to learn through experience.
No.
But that's something we can offer. That's what I just want to add on, because I hear that from the younger generation. They say they're so caught up with the trends and make sure they have the updated Nikes, updated shoes, or the clothes. When people come to me and ask for money, but then I look at their wardrobe, I'm like, $500 shoes,
Right?
$200, $500 Gucci belt.
Like you can go sell that.
Yep.
You know?
Right? You're asking me for money, but you have all the updated designer clothes
Right.
that I don't even have. I have basic clothes. People have what it takes. They have the money, but they're just not using it the right way. And if people really looked at themselves and how they spend their money, they'll start to realize that they actually have the money they're asking you for. Is just, you're just wasting it on dumb things.
Right.
You know, but that takes discipline, and that takes you have to have a goal and plan that you're working towards to. But most people don't have a plan and goal, so they'll just spend money however they want to spend it.
I'll just tell them go get a loan, and that way they'll pay that money back because they won't pay us back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
With interest?
I mean, you know,
Compound.
usually I have a good heart. I don't ask for the money back depending on I don't ask what they're using it for. But I think when it comes to, you know, giving, we just need to learn how to say no.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter what situation that they're in, they need to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
To be honest. So,
Well, I want to actually add to that, thinking now about what season we're in.
Yeah.
We're in tax season.
Yeah.
And a lot of polys, or should I say Tongans and Samoans, as they get that money,
nephew.
as you get that money, like how long does it take before it's gone?
Yeah.
You know, and if it was done right going into the next year, you know, that could be a savings portion. I'm not saying everyone's the same, but statistics again are going to show that money comes and goes. You like, wait, weren't we just eating McDonald's and now we're eating at the steakhouse?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. You know,
Rags
taxes
to
came in.
Is it February? Right?
Yeah, right.
It's that season, which is why I believe that April being the financial literacy month.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that April is the financial literacy month. And so we're on a crusade to literally post, you know, what our experiences are. And I think this is going to be a great start on things that we've experienced and how we want to be able to give the option. Because that's the thing. A lot of people don't know whether they want to be entrepreneurs, but to not give them the opportunity to see the option of what it can do and let them decide for themselves, that I think is robbing them of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have come into it if I didn't experience it for myself through my parents, through my dad specifically, retiring at age 70. And because of that, I thank God that it happened, because it allowed me to say, okay, I need to find out what else is out there. And lo and behold, Damien posted something on social media that caught my attention. I was like, okay, I really need to get in touch and find out more for myself.
You didn't think it was a scam?
Honestly, timing was everything. Before, when I saw his post, he would post all the time.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, oh gosh, not this again. And a lot of people say that to us. They're like, oh gosh, not this again. Until something significant happens in your life. And that's what I want to bring forth to the table. Maybe you're listening to this and it's like, not right now. It doesn't mean no. It just means not right now.
Yeah.
And they don't know that. Maybe they do know that, but most people don't know that until a significant event happens. And significant events happen on average, like every 6 months?
Every 6 months.
People's needs change. And so that's why putting this out there, and then maybe 6 months from now, you're just like, oh, I thought I heard something about that. A will, a trust? Oh, that's right.
We reach out to them now.
So
It's all about getting the information out there, you know. Sometimes, like just for me, I didn't see the value in life insurance until my grandma passed away.
That's true.
Right. So my mom asked me to take over her life insurance policy. I didn't see the value. I was like, what insurance costs $500? You know?
Yeah.
So I didn't, I was like, Mom, I can't, that's too much. Right. So a year later, my grandma passed away. I did what anybody done. I went and applied for a loan for a $23,000 loan. Guess how much I paid for that? $500.
Yeah.
Right. So now if I would have saw the value in life insurance when my mom brought it up, I would have paid $500 for $100,000 in coverage versus $500 paying $23,000 back plus interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it took me, then I took the business serious after that event, because I didn't want people to go through the same experience that I went through, which is what I broke my pocket to pay for my grandma's funeral. Right. And I was the oldest grandchild. I used up that $23,000 loan. I also maxed out my credit card, because even after we buried her, all these expenses came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. And guess what happened? Family events, family gathering. No one didn't have the money. People start arguing. I was like, you know what? Grandma's gone. Let's just take care of it. And no one wanted to contribute, so just get it off. Right. So it took a significant event for everyone. It's going to happen. They're going to say no today, but I guarantee you, they're going to remember the person that spoke about it, and it's going to happen in their lives, and they're going to think about the person that they saw it 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Because it goes through experience, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people go through experience. We may not, all of us been through there, right? But it took that significant event for us to see value in anything in life. So, yeah.
I want to touch back on your point of frugality, and the importance of financial planning, right? Because I mean, being frugal is a good thing, right? But at the same time, I think that's why financial planning is so important, because I don't think a lot of people see being frugal as being limited, right? And so I think when you plan something, like for example, a lot of people, I think every one of us has our own vice.
Yeah.
Whether it's video games, whether it's watches, whether it's clothes, shoes, we all have that. And so I think if you strategically plan your finances so where you can afford that, then I think that's totally appropriate and okay. Now, here's the problem. A lot of people will go and buy things they know they can't afford because they have that impulse. And so a lot of people do impulse spending, which they spend based on their emotions. That's why, I mean, I have a girlfriend and we have Amazon box probably every other day. So.
I hope you're watching.
Don't watch it. Cancel him. But you know, I'll always remind, like, hey, like, did we plan that, like, or are we just seeing stuff on Amazon going, like one of the terms that I window shopping, because you walk and you see it in the window and you're like, oh, I want it, swipe the credit card. It's crazy. And I think that's why another reason and factor why a lot of us Polynesians end up broke. Because we don't have a plan. We like to spend money on a lot of unnecessary things. And do the Tongans do the same thing as a Falava in Samoa?
Yeah, we call it Fatongia.
Fatongia. Okay.
Yeah.
That too.
Add that to it.
Add that to it.
Yeah. I think for you, the most important word of what you said was plan, right? What's that adage that's saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail? I think for a lot of us, especially islanders, we're reactive spenders, not proactive, right? So we tend to start doing things financially right when reacting to a certain situation instead of planning for it and investing into it. So when that time comes, you're ready, you're prepared. And I think that just comes from experience, and also speaking to something that you said about people who are trying to figure out if they want to become entrepreneurs. For those who are listening right now, I do want to say is try it out. Like everything in life, you have to try it out and experience it, and just see if you're built for that. There's two ways I see it: is you just try it out for yourself and figure it out, or also the reason why I got into that is because I'm more rational. So I just looked at outcomes of people I wanted, the type of life and results I wanted for myself, and I just saw the decisions they made and the work they had to put in, and then all it comes down to a decision you have to make. Are you willing to pay that price?
Yeah.
So
Into yourself.
yeah, to yourself, right? So if you want to become entrepreneurs, if you're looking at somebody as an entrepreneur and they have the results of the things that you want exactly for your life, then the question you just have to ask yourself is, are you willing to pay the price that that person did?
Exactly.
And if you're willing to pay that price and you're genuinely honest with yourself, then you go through the work,
Exactly.
Yep.
right? You go through the work. And you don't really need to be thinking about, oh, if I'm ready or not. Because when I got into this, I didn't think about what I'm ready or not. I just saw the outcome. I was like, that's what I want.
Yep.
All right. So I didn't care about thinking about, well, if I'm ready or not.
Mhm.
All I know for a fact that outcome is something I want for my life. And you just make that decision. If you haven't come to that level of thinking, then you just got to try it out.
Yep.
And the experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
You'll figure out real soon if you're built for that. If you're not built for that, then there's no problem just taking a step back and trying something else. There's no way you actually know for yourself unless you try it. I think sometimes people overanalyze certain things, or they're trying to wait for that perfect moment in time.
Exactly.
All right.
There is no
There is
There
exactly.
isn't.
There is no perfect moment in time. You just got to try it, see it works.
What coach say? Don't go through it, but grow.
Grow through it.
Yeah.
Right. So that when he said that, I was like, all right, cool. That's why a lot of people don't succeed, because they saw the failures and they stopped there,
Yeah.
and they're so close, right? And once they fail and they just don't move forward, that's when they actually fail, you know, because they didn't actually take the leap of faith to grow through it, to learn from it, and then just move on. I'm actually, glad that I stuck through the financial industry. There's some tough points in the industry, right? But I'm glad I didn't quit, because I didn't want to quit on myself. But if I quit on myself, then everyone sees that. They're just gonna see you as a quitter, you know. So I love what you said, especially when you started your podcast, right? If you didn't take the leap of faith by actually doing it, you'll never have.
You never know.
done it.
Yeah.
So.
And I wouldn't know that you're a scam.
Brother. Right. Exactly.
But it also goes back to choosing. We say it a lot lately, right? It's choosing your hard,
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
What you think is hard.
Facts.
If you are a great worker and your heart is, working the 9 to 5, having kids at home, not being home or being present, then that's you, right? Unless it's like choosing your heart of this, right? Doing your own, being an entrepreneur, working or growing through it. What is hard about it? It's obviously setting your own appointments, right? Or setting up your own things, right? Investing into, more expensive hardware that you need for your podcast, right? So it's choosing which part of that hard is hard for you. Like, is it hard to not be at home with your kids and working 9 to 5, working overtime, right? Or what?
Eating healthy.
Or eating out is choosing your hard, that's a great example, right? In working out, right? You want to lose weight, or you want to look like a certain person, or you want to look a certain way. Well, so what is your heart? Giving up eating at McDonald's all the time, or, actually being on, I don't necessarily call it a diet. I call it more like it's a lifestyle change, right? Because you have to be able to change it, because diets always end, right?
That's true.
There's always an ending limit to that. So it's choosing your hard. Which hard do you want to do? Do you want to just go through it because you have to, and it's an everyday thing, and you're just going to continuously, be mind boggled? Or is it, hey, you have your end result. You already know what you're working up toward. So it's going to be hard, but which hard do you want to go through?
Exactly. I absolutely I love that. When people always ask me, isn't it hard what you do? Trying to work towards financial independence. I was like, yeah, it is hard. You know what's harder? Being broke.
Exactly.
Bingo.
Regardless of what you choose, if you want to be poor, you're still gonna live a hard life. If you want to work towards something that's not a guarantee, but there's a reward at the end of the day. If you're consistent and if you persevere, it's still hard, but you said you got to make that choice. Is that the price that you're willing to pay?
Right.
Exactly.
So, and you can't have it both ways. And I think
You get exactly what you put.
you put into it, right? So if you don't want to do the work, and the way I see it for people is make your own decisions.
Yes.
We're only going to offer what we're going to offer on this podcast.
Exactly.
But whatever decision you make, do not complain about the consequences
Right.
of the things that you did not do.
And that's the element that I love about entrepreneurship is that we're starting to see more and more people that look like us.
Yeah.
That are doing things that we're just like, oh, that's not normal. And it's like, exactly. We're starting to see people, and not just in the financial industry, but before you, I didn't even know that there were Polynesians that do podcasts, and now I'm seeing them everywhere. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And so if you are an entrepreneur, embrace it.
Mhm.
And like Will said, just go for it, because you never know if you don't just put yourself out there and see where you land. The best part of you is yet to come, is what I say. There's a level of a version of you that is yet to be unlocked. And these are those moments. You'll never know if you're just willing to be average and willing to live the safe route. So.
And I just want to offer some words of endearment to Pacific Islanders who don't feel like you're not ready to go into entrepreneurship, or not even entrepreneurship. Go into something that they've never done before, go into unknown territory. One of the things I always think about my heritage, right? As Pacific Islanders, as Polynesians, if you look at history, right, our ancestors were renowned for their navigation skills. The way they navigated the seas and found the islands without using any, modern technology. We're revered to be the best navigators in history in the world. Think about our ancestors not knowing the seas they're going to go into, but they still found a way to overcome it and still navigated, founded the islands, built communities, built cities, built families, and become well known in history that they were the best navigators. And that type of mentality, I believe, for all of us, we're just navigating a different sea in modern society. That we do have what it takes, right? Whatever it's financial independence, whatever it's college, whether you just want to have a good job to take care of your family, whatever you're trying to navigate, it's already in us. It is our DNA to navigate unknown territory and still be able to be successful and succeed. Oftentimes when I see these young generation, because they don't know their culture, they don't know their history. If you know your history for our people, because I hear this from a lot of Pacific Islanders, that's only white people shit.
Yep.
I hate that.
Hit it on the head.
I hate that because it is part of our DNA that we are successful and we are conquerors, we are warriors, and we can navigate anything in life. We navigated the Pacific Ocean, the biggest ocean in the damn world, and we conquered it, right? That doesn't mean that we can't navigate in modern society.
Exactly.
And it's within our DNA, it's within us as people to whatever you want to navigate through and be successful. We can do it as a people, but society has convinced a lot of us don't really know our roots and where we come from, that we feel like that we're not up to par, that only specific type of people or ethnicity or white people can do it. We're all disproving that fact right now. Right. And that's all you need. We just need one person to see it. If they can do it, they look like us, they can do it. But
just taking the first step.
Yeah, but just remember your history. People remember our history. And if you once you know your history, and that's something that for me is, I always think about when I go through hard times and trials and tribulations. I always think about my ancestors. They didn't quit, and that encourages me to keep going because I know where I'm from. I know what I'm capable of, and I can do it. But I know that's something that's missing today from this the younger generation. That you are coming from a ancestry of successful and the best navigators in the world, and you can do it. I do want to shift to what is the biggest objections that you guys get from people when you're trying to present to them and about this opportunity to get life insurance, all the benefits that you guys have learned, and trying to communicate that to them. What's like the biggest objection you guys receive, and can you address every single one? Especially, there's a lot of things I hear that it's actually false. It's just ideology, but if you look at statistically, it's false. But what's the top objections that you guys get? Let's disprove all the myths that Islanders have about life insurance, about financial independence, about money, and disprove it right now on this podcast. What's the biggest objections you guys get?
I don't need it.
Okay.
That's one.
Yeah, I don't need it.
They don't need it yet, right?
Yep.
But they wait until they get unhealthy. I know you mentioned when we first started is, what was it, poor, and we die at 55 or something.
Yeah, we die young. We die
We die
young.
young.
Yeah.
We do though.
No, we
right?
do.
It's because right, we want to help our people when they're healthy and young versus waiting till later when they actually need it and they're unhealthy. Now they're not qualified because of health issues.
Yeah. And
in our Polynesian community, it says somewhere in the insurance context that our people, the Polynesian community, is subject to KIT. It's 50-50 approval rates because of they know that we're diabetic, right?
Yeah.
We're number one. Was it obese?
Obese.
Yeah, we are
Obesity.
number one in obesity.
Right.
Yep.
So
Isn't that sad? Out of all the races in this world, 7 billion people on this planet, and we're such a small.
we're such a small.
But we're
island,
number one.
But number
Number
one,
one.
yeah.
Sad, man.
right? But it's because it's we are who we are with what we eat, right? So if you want to eat junk food, then you're gonna look like junk, right? So, but it's because again, it goes back in Samoa what we eat there. But it starts with you. If you want to be healthy and live a longer life, then you need to change. You need to take that step to change the way you eat, right? And I always think about that, and I always think about my family. I know you would die for your family, but try living for your family,
Oh,
right?
man.
And and that goes back to, hey, if you're a heavy set person and you're at 50, try make it to 55, right? You're probably not gonna make it to 55. You're probably gonna die in your sleep because of a heart attack or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You just never know, right? But if you don't, finance is important, but health is important as well.
Right.
So I think because especially our Polynesian community, it's what we eat is the reason why we don't last all the way up till we die in our sleep. But it's they don't need it now, especially our community. As much as I want to help our community, but we're the worst customer by far.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to money, they don't want to put money into life insurance because they don't see a return
The value.
A value.
The value or return of what they call it, return on investment right away
ROI,
until they die.
Can I,
Until that day comes, now they're gonna say, all right, did they cover me? Or now they start asking for it.
let's have that hard conversation. Why don't we want to buy life insurance, and why do we just wait to the day we die? I have my opinion, but I want to let me.
Well,
reserve it.
it's something that we weren't taught. I mean, if you go back to our roots, we didn't have that back in the island. What we had in the island was the Patongia and Falavalave.
Yeah.
Now, when you come to a country and you bring your family over to the mainland here in the U.S., then someone brings a new concept. It's like, hey, this is what you do, but hey, you have to pay for it. Nah, I can't. Then we get that objection.
Yeah.
We have it already. Okay, if you have it already, can we dissect it and see if it's structured properly to see if it's actually working and going to take care of you for when that day comes? No. Well, it's like, all right, whatever. The other objection we get, we can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you can't afford it, let's break down your finances and see where your money's going, because you're saying you can't afford it, but yet you're spending $5 to $10 on coffee. You're spending this on, So again, it all boils down to money and how you spend it and what you see as valuable. If you don't see your life as valuable when you die, then we can't help you.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the main reasons why our people don't see it, is because they don't see the value until that significant event happens.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The life insurance game, it's evolving.
Right.
It's continuously evolving. We're getting into the technology space where it's like there's back in the day it was a process to actually go through medical exams and do all that stuff. Now you just input your information on technology, boom, you get approved
in 10 minutes.
Yeah, in minutes.
Yeah.
Depending on health, right?
But a lot of people don't know that don't see the value in it because they don't know that.
I don't know it.
And so you'll see a lot of people that we talk to, they won't believe it, but you want to know where they got their information from? Google.
Yeah.
So it's like, bro, you're going to Google, but we actually are licensed. We're not just Joe Schmo telling you this. We had to go through a process that's regulated in order for us to tell you and educate you on this. So if you think we're lying, we have a vested interest in our people.
Yeah.
And in our family and in our friends. I had this question asked: if you had the cure for cancer, who's going to be the first people that you're going to tell?
Closest people.
Yeah, the closest
people to you. We know the cure for financial cancer.
Yeah.
We want to share it with those people, but they don't want to hear it. So it's like, at the end of the day, all we can do is
help those that wants to be helped.
Yeah.
Looking for people who are looking for us.
Right. It's as simple as that.
That's our motto.
You can't take what they say. You can take the horse to the
water.
You can't make them drink.
Force them to drink. So it's just like that.
Yeah.
But our people are the worst people to do business with. To be in my, don't cancel me.
Cancel him.
Right? Even it's in our. I had a family member called. I talked to him about life insurance 3 years ago. Right. 2 years later, he called me for life insurance, and then he's like, "Well, here's the thing, brother. I got cancer now." I was like, "I can't help you now." Right? But again, it goes back to it takes a significant event to happen for you to see a value in something, because we're not trying to sell life insurance. We're selling what the value of what it could do for families.
Yes.
You know, so it goes back to, we can help those that want to be helped. For everyone else, at least we're sharing the information. If the information does not hit you at that time, then hey, we'll just move on to the next one. Right. So we have helped more strangers than family.
Yeah,
And our own,
it's crazy,
our own
bro.
family members.
It's crazy.
Always like that is.
That part.
And it's like, and the people that are always bring up, oh, well, you're just doing this to get paid. Well, you're working to get paid.
Exactly.
Like, the thing that I get so confused on is people getting mad or getting, feeling some type of way when people get paid for
Everything.
services.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like, we're providing the service to you. Of course we're going to get paid. No one does shit for free.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the reality.
Yep.
Like, if you're doing shit for free, then God bless you. But majority of us, we have families, we have bills. Damien always says this, but it's like, why not build something to provide you residual income when you have residual bills and residual expenses that you have to pay? It's crazy. It's crazy how people's thoughts are when it comes to getting paid for something valuable that
You
we
see them
provide.
buy a car.
Yeah.
Which I was going to say, yep.
Yeah.
Right? They buy a house
Yeah.
from a real estate they don't know. But when it comes to your own family member, I'd rather you deal with me because you know me, right? Versus sitting with someone like some of them. One of my closest friends, he said, "Well, I trust my financial advisor." I was like, "What do you know about him? How old is he? Is he married? What's his son's name?" Right? They don't know that. And then he's just like, "Oh, he's my financial advisor for 20 years." When's the last time you spoke to him?
Yeah.
Right? In 20 years, a lot has changed. You think that the things 20 years ago are the same?
Yeah.
Hell no. Things has evolved.
Yeah.
So it's important to get a second opinion when it comes to anything, right? You wouldn't buy a car from Toyota and not go get a second
Right.
opinion from another place, right? Because you
Yeah.
might get it cheaper there.
Yeah.
So it's always better to get a second opinion when it comes to stuff like that. But it's crazy that our own family members
Right.
don't trust us because they don't want to pay us. That's literally what it is,
Yeah.
right? But if I'm going to provide services to someone that I love, right? Even if, like I say, if it's free, my time ain't free. Time is one of the most expensive thing in the world. You will never buy time back, right? But if I'm going to provide services to you, I'd rather you deal with me because you know me, right? And because you're going to deal with me, I'd rather be upfront with you than someone else hurting your feelings, right? Because if no one's going to be upfront with you, then you're never going to be.
But I think that's another thing, though, that in not wanting to work with family, because your family knows your past,
Yeah.
your family knows your history,
Yeah.
and so all of a sudden, Damien, you're into finances now?
Yeah.
Nah, bro, I seen you 20
Yeah,
years
I
ago
see
in the
what we used to
club,
do back in the
spending
club,
money on
like,
unnecessary things, on scams and
Scams,
stuff,
exactly.
bro.
back
Like,
then.
now all of a sudden you want to hit me up, and that is where we leverage a lot of our mentors
Yes.
and people that are in the business that we trust, so that when our family comes to us, like,
Conflict.
you know what, I'm not going to necessarily, I'll tell you what we do, but I'm not going to be the main person to handle your stuff because of that relationship. I don't want something to come back and you feel some type of way because of what you did, and then it ruins our relationship. I don't, that happens a lot. Again, because of them knowing your past and knowing your history. Me personally, I would rather work with people strangers,
Right.
or just anyone that. Well, no, I take it back. I'd rather work with people that see the value, regardless if it's family or friends or strangers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because the first people that we thought of when we came to, for me, is before we help everyone else, let's help my family. Let me help my family and friends first.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of setbacks. I was like, all right, you know what? The information is given.
Right.
Whatever you do with it, it's up to you.
And here's another objection that we get, whether it's spoken out loud or behind closed doors, is God's going to take care of me.
Oh, yeah.
They use the
Amen.
religion card of,
I don't want to get canceled.
I don't need life insurance. God is my life insurance. He's going to take care of me. And I think the biggest misconception about that is that God also gave you 2 hands and 2 feet to put in the work.
Yeah.
And maybe me even being here and presenting this to you is God working through, trying to make sure that you're set up, and that you're not, because it's like, you're going to be gone. Who's going to be left to handle everything that
Facts.
it's going to be the people who are closest to you. What do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be known for that you left behind? Because it's not people. The misconception is it's only for the elderly.
Yeah.
People that are old. But we hear so many stories of the young generation that are just like in an instant. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. Heck, not even the rest of this day.
Yes.
And people are willing to get insurance on their phones, insurance on their cars, insurance on their homes, but they're not willing to insure the things that are more valuable than all those things combined. You can replace those things. You can't replace your loved ones or yourself. So, and that's why we want to bring so
It's always you. Wow. Text me.
Dropping some bars.
Jeez.
But the thing is, it's the reason why it's so impactful what you say, because it's true.
It is.
That's
Very
why.
true.
That's why we all resonate to it, because it's actually true.
right.
Like everything's.
And this is all personal experience. All of this, right? Just like what you're saying, a lot of them didn't want to deal with us because of our past experience, right? But, I've learned from all that. I no longer go to no club. I don't do none of that anymore,
You don't?
Cancel. No, I do. No, but, what I used to do before, I don't, and now as a financial professional, I save a lot of money.
Yeah.
But before, you can ask them. You see me on Snapchat, just spending, going to a lot of, stupid stuff. But it's changing who you are now.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to stay the same person before, then you shouldn't be in the industry, because now you're sharing the wrong message.
Yeah.
But it's crazy what we do and the setbacks that we get from our own people.
And sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
I know one of the quotes that we always use is never take advice from someone you wouldn't want to trade
your life with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, another objection I always sometimes get is, hey, are you doing that insurance thing? I'm good. I'm like, I didn't even present to you. Like, you don't even know which company I'm with. Like, you don't even, there's like, no. I see in all your posts and stuff. I'm good. I'm like, but you don't even really know what I do. Right. And so with that misconception of, it just, especially with our people, right. And not even just, but in going back to our culture, and our falavelavas, right? Or what you guys call it in your culture as well.
Say it.
Fatongias. Okay. Fatongias. Okay. And how not even just God got us, but our family will take care of us, right? And I'm going to go all the way back to when Damien was talking about, our people and being able to give up for falavelavas and fatongias. It shouldn't be a number. It shouldn't be a number. And that's what I truly believe. It shouldn't be a number. Like, don't give me a limit on how much I should contribute to this event, especially if it's a funeral. Like, okay, cool. Our family's giving 1,000. Perfect. Out of that 1,000, I'm going to give whatever I can out of love, not because you're telling me how much I have to give, right? Because it should be given out of love. And if my presence is not enough, and, I'm sorry, but, but I know that with all of us sitting here, we've all agreed, right? Like, if anything happens to our parents or anything happens to any of our family members, like, we want to be the ones who are like, can you guys all just come and celebrate their life? We already got it. Don't worry about giving me money. Save that for anything that you might need. If you guys want to give it based off of your love for us, great. But other than that, just come and enjoy and celebrate their life with us, because they got life insurance, they got covered, everything is paid for to include you guys coming, so that's just part of
Wouldn't that be cool though? If your family's insured and then you have family members come and donate and you just turn them around. It's like, hey, I don't need your money. Take care of my family.
That's what I was
Yes.
going to ask Will, like, being Polynesians in the US, our generation, what are your thoughts on like the older generations, like implementing like the cultural aspects into, like, let's say, like services like a funeral or where money is expected to be.
I'm glad we're going there.
Yeah, so so this is a great discussion, and I had this discussion with one of my good friends, Paulo Fesa, is from New Zealand. If you're watching this right now, shout out to you. But there's the argument from the younger generation. Their argument is, let's throw that away. We put ourselves in financial stress, and we can't take care of ourselves and our family, which I do understand. But from the older generation, is the cultural element.
Yes.
That's what makes us unique, right? If we throw away the things that we traditionally did that's specific to us as a people, we might lose our identity in this world. So how do we navigate that? And in my perspective, is we have to understand the system, how it affected us in the islands compared to the U.S. And that's something that I have to break down with the older generation. So a lot of the things that we practice or we consider as tradition and culture, it originated in Samoa and Tonga. But the system and the society that we live in those islands is different than the system that we live in today in America. And then we have to refine it where it can adjust to how we live here. In Tonga, when we have the fatongias for celebrations, for funerals, traditionally the currency we used wasn't money. It was food.
It's food. Yep.
So when people come together for a funeral celebration, for a birthday, or for marriage, people just brought what they had. And most people in Tonga were farmers, right? They grew their agriculture. They had their own food. So people, when I grew up in Tonga, people would just bring bags of food, right? And that's their donation to the family, to the function, to the fa'alabilabere, or to the fatongia, right?
Gotcha.
It wasn't monetary, right? So that's how in Tonga, that's how people still was able to contribute. And it wasn't straining them with their lives because they still had food at home. And then also they didn't have taxes.
Right.
Right. They didn't have all the things that we have here today. So we can't do the same thing. The same system that we use in the islands when it comes to fatongia and fa'alabilabere, it doesn't work in modern society where we have taxes, we have bills, and the only way we can contribute is through money. Right. So I would love just to give you a bag of food here. Right. But most people don't want your bag of food in America. They want your hard-earned money and dollar. The conversation is, how can we be able to adjust the system so that way it benefits us and adjust and be able to live here and thrive in modern society? And some of the solutions you guys already presented it. Don't give me a number of what I should donate. I should just donate what I can give you. I think that's how we should be able to adjust the fatongias and fa'alabilabere, still maintain the culture tradition that's unique to us, so we don't lose our identity, and we get the best of both worlds. We still, the fear of the older generation is if we stop doing these things, then we are losing our culture. And that's why oftentimes their biggest argument is, oh, you just want to be like white people.
Yeah.
You don't want to do the things that makes us Tongans, makes us Samoans, which I agree, because I'm proud of being a Tongan.
Exactly.
I'm proud of the things that we did traditionally, and because it lets me know that I'm different. It lets me know that this is where I come from. But that self-identity gives you a sense of courage and confidence in yourself, right? And I think that's the conversation that we need to have that I don't see most people having online, is addressing the fact that, and a lot of older generation don't want to hear this, but we have to refine the traditions that we had. I'm not saying eliminating it. I'm not saying throwing it away. Refine it means let's improve it, but we still have the same traditions, but it works and benefits us in modern society. So I agree with don't give a number, just give what you have. And it's okay to say no.
Yes.
Right. That's also another thing that we can add on to it. If you don't have it right now, that's fine, but maybe in the future, maybe when you're well off, maybe when you start doing better, then you can contribute and add money. So these are the modern solutions that we have, and this has to come from us. And also, I think it's also going to come down to us to implement it ourselves, because the older generation, they're diehard. They're not going to let go. So we have to accept that they're not going to change, which is okay, because they grew up at a different time.
Right.
But we're going to be the ones that's going to carry the traditions and the cultures. And also, for even the old heads, I've had conversation with them. No, we have to keep the traditions. All right, do we still keep the same traditions 2,000 years ago?
Right, exactly.
No. Traditions adopt, evolve, and change.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't do the same things 100 years ago, 500 years ago. So that idea, the notion that traditions never change, it's false. As civilization evolves, traditions evolve. And just because something evolves doesn't mean that we're not being true or pure, not being real Tongans or true Samoans. I do agree, we have to keep the culture, keep the system, but we have to improve it and refine it, right? Don't throw it away, because I do agree. That's what makes us Samoans. That's what makes us Tongans. That's what makes us Pacific Islanders. We don't want to be like everybody else. We're different because we look different. So we have to keep that heritage. But that's the concern. So that's the concern I have with the older generation.
Yeah.
I believe that we have to have that conversation. Is let's improve it, not throw it away. But we have to improve it. If you don't want to improve it, that's why we see all the things that we just discussed right now,
Right.
all the negative consequences. So my question is, if we're complaining so much about the negative consequences, especially the younger generation, I always hear about, oh man, they complain about all the things they have to do. At some point, you have to stand up for yourself and like, look, we got to do this differently.
Right.
And, I mean, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, you guys know that definition. Insanity.
It's insanity.
Isn't that right? So, no, it's got to come to us and just standing up. You know what? Standing up to the older generation. I don't agree with with the way you do things. This is how we're going to do it. That's going to benefit me, my family, and this is how I'm going to teach my tradition to my kids. Right? When I have my kids, I'm not going to teach them, hey, if you got it, you got it. You don't have to contribute financially. If you contribute in different ways, and for some people, and this is also another conversation I have with other people. If you don't have the money, you can contribute your time. Look, I'll come to the Phi Love Love and just help.
Yep.
But I can't give you money right now because I got family to take care of. So there's different forms you guys can contribute. It doesn't have to be financial, and that's the thing that we have to eliminate. It doesn't necessarily have to be financial.
Yes.
It could be your time, it could be your resources, or it could just be your referrals. Maybe you know somebody that can help you out. But I think that the issue is. We have inflation today right now with the economy. People are struggling financially. People are barely making it. There's a statistic out there that shows that 50% of millennials have less than $1,000 in their bank account. Most millennials, and some of these millennials have kids. The reality is it is a struggle. So the conversation is what's best for us to move on. And if we really want the best for us, we have to have this hard conversation with the older generation that I'm sorry to say that tradition is going to die with you. I'm going to do it differently.
Gotcha.
What do you guys think?
I mean,
No,
go ahead.
it's true. It's true. It starts with us, especially we're the next generation, right? Yes, we got to learn to say no. We got to speak up as well, right? If you feel like it's not appropriate. Like for example, my grandma's funeral, we had one Phi Phi Alpha that showed up. Phi Phi Alpha is our what?
Pastor.
Pastors.
Yeah.
We paid him for just being there and showing his support. And then I saw these other Phi Phi Alphas showed up, right? And guess what my grandpa said? Hey, give them money and put it in an envelope. I was like, how much? He said 200 each. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna. 10 of them came to the house.
Oh, wow.
Right? But I didn't tell my grandpa how much I put in the envelope. I put a $20 bill in it. Gave it to him. And here's the thing: if you're to be honest, and sometimes it's not even our culture. It's the people that takes advantage of our culture.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna show up to a funeral and expect money when you don't need the money. It's not even your time. Right? If I was to give you something for someone else's funeral, you as a Phi Phi Alpha should turn around and say, hey, you guys need this money. I don't need this money. Right?
Yeah.
It should have been thought that way, but it's not. It's not the case. Majority of them take advantage of our culture because they know if they showed up, showed their support, they're gonna receive money.
Yeah.
Right. But it's again, it goes back to us. Like I'm not gonna listen to my grandfather and say, hey, I'm gonna put $200 in the envelope. I'm gonna put $20.
Yes.
Right. It's the thought that counts. Right. Thank you for showing up. I don't even know your name. Right.
Yeah.
I know the first Phi Phi Alpha. Right. But it goes back to us setting the tone because we're the ones that's gonna end up paying for it.
Yeah.
And yes, we have to stand up for ourselves and say something because if we don't, then these old heads are going to take over, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is part of our culture because I don't know any other culture, at least, in the US that pay pastors for showing up at someone's funeral. So I think that is cultural because they see these big figures come to their family's funeral where they're supposed to be mourning and then it's like, yeah, here you go. So that is a cultural thing. And the also another reason why I asked you that is because with like Phi Lava Lavas and stuff like that, our business is expanding like to other countries. And I want our business to expand to the islands, to show them the value of what we do and what it can serve. Imagine we don't have to come out of pocket, and we can a company just cuts a check, and you bring that to the family as your gift.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go. Now let's just come and do the rest of the other cultural items that we do at that service. And so I think insurance is the next wave to show to our next generation of islanders. I know it's different being on the island than being here in the US, but ultimately if people see giving money as a token for, or a gift for when people pass away, I don't think that's culturally like moral at all.
Yeah.
Because people will be taking out loans and going broke just for coming out of pocket for a graduation, a marriage, or a wedding, funeral.
Because it used to be follows.
Yeah.
Well, also food too.
Yeah, food and follows. Yeah,
That's trading between families, right? But not money.
the monetary system we have is money. It's no longer follows. If you bring food, a bag of food and follows, they're gonna look at you. What is this?
Where's the envelope?
Where's the envelope? But also solution is life insurance. That's another modern solution, right? But that's why we're having the conversation today, right? We understand that a lot of statistically our community is the ones that is dying early, and we have one of the lowest life expectancy compared to other ethnicities.
Sure.
So the solution to that is life insurance. So we need to make sure that we are insured, make sure we are planning for these situations and not depending on other people financially, because it is a financial strain for a lot of people. And also, I think you brought up a great point with the patriarchs, right? With the priests, we also have to address the toxic people and behavior that take advantage of these systems. We have to address that. A lot of times we see these toxic people, we don't address it because they're religious people or the people with their family members, and nobody wants to speak on it. Yeah. And it's because of these people that put a bad name for a lot of kids of why they don't want to follow that tradition. So we have to address that as well. That if we do see negative people, or we do see people that's taking advantage of families for a monetary gain, then that's not a legitimate reason for you to contribute. I'm not contributing if I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of. That's just, I don't care if it's family member. I don't care if 25 hours came up.
Right. One of them came from the east side.
Yeah, came
From the east side.
Yeah.
I was like, where you come from?
Yeah.
I forgot what village.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, from whatever. Yeah. It was.
Come on, bro.
What do you do here? You know, like, what's my grandma's name? Oh, they're trying to look at the grave and stuff for her name. I was like, to me, it's really disrespectful. Yeah. In my opinion, right? But in my personal experience, I mean, what I believe in, if I come to your to a funeral, I'd rather, like you said, right? Shame on us for having our license and not use it to help protect people. Yeah. Because I'd rather show up not from my pocket, but with a check from another person's pocket, and to give it to the family so that they could use it.
They can mourn,
and they can mourn on it, and they don't have to, feel the pressure of finances just leaving them, and then we hit them with a check, and I'm like, damn, I'm great now. I don't have to worry about stuff like that. That to me is a good feeling. Yeah. Forget the money that we make in it. We make a lot of money in our industry, but what's more rewarding is the family that we help. Right. I think that's more rewarding and beneficial for me and us, right? Because them thanking us for thinking of them, right, and helping them protect their finances, especially at those significant events.
Because what if it's a family where the breadwinner dies?
Exactly.
You're leaving behind a widow who now you have to go to work, or what let's say you're a husband and you pass away and you were the sole breadwinner and you pass away and your wife's was a stay-at-home mom, let's just say, or made minimum wage. What is she going to do, or what is he going to do now that you're gone? Yeah. And so what we like to preach is life insurance is another form of love. Yeah. Where you can be like, hey, I love you, and I'm going to show you I love you by opening up this policy for you so that no other person is going to take care of you when I'm gone. Like, I'm going to take care of you from the grave. You know what I mean?
Oof. But even thinking about that, leaving the wife, they spend majority of their time taking care of their kids. Yeah. Her to find a job with no experience after 20 years of taking their kids, she's not gonna find a job to help pay for their mortgage or rent or any of the expenses left behind, right? So, but it's up to the man. I always blame the man for not taking care of the family. Yeah. Right? Cancel me. Right, but it just goes back to the man. If you're not secure your family and you think life insurance is a scam and you don't think it's gonna replace your income, then you're the problem. But majority of the people that we sit with, we're talking to the man, but majority of what we're saying is to the wife.
Yeah.
Because we want to put them in a position to say, you know what, he is right.
Yeah.
If you leave,
You
who's gonna take care of me? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him, but literally I'm saying it to her, and then she's gonna make the decision. Let's be honest, the women in the house make the decision, right? So
You're such a red pill.
but no, that's just me though. That's don't count. That's not okay. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what I believe in. Like,
Can I go back to the question of why our culture to keep that part alive?
Yeah.
That is something that has been heavy on my mind because some of our perspectives is because we've been burned in the past.
Yeah.
But there might be someone on this call that's like, that's the beautiful part about our culture. And if you've ever been on a Fala Lave where you saw the outpouring through the food, through the time and energy that people were just bringing. And then, yes, the envelopes, the families, like when I saw that for my grandma's funeral, it was just like in awe, a wave of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is how they show up. Like people coming from all over. Yes, there are people that take advantage, but when you see it in its purest form, that is something you cannot take away. And I think so there's like this dim light of where we're seeing all the negative. And it's also because of the way it's being portrayed to our generation.
Yeah.
You have to give me your money. It's like, who's telling you to give you? It's not the family. It's our own like parents.
Yeah.
The way they're like, I need money because we have a Fala Lave. And it's like our uncle and someone, in Samoa or wherever. And it's like, okay. And then a week later, I need more because there's someone else that has something else. And so as you get older, you start to mature and think they only were doing what they knew. Now I'm going to take what I know and bring our culture and say, okay, the beauty is in the part where our people are so giving. That's what I want to make sure that we honor is that we're giving, but it doesn't always have to be this one size fits all type of giving. Mm-hmm. It's giving in a different form that we're breaking barriers just by having this conversation.
Yeah.
Because people complain behind closed doors with, their family members or, and it causes such a feud.
Yeah, it does.
A feud of so-and-so didn't give.
Yep.
We're not going to talk to them, and that's just like, oh my gosh, that's the same family member that never gives. Yep. Or, and then it just becomes like this, it creates this
division.
It
divides families. Yeah.
And so I believe that without, if we're going to have that conversation, we need to also be able to be transparent and say, okay, it also depends on the environment you grew up in. Yeah. For those of us that grew up back home, we also saw the other side of it. Mm-hmm. For those that are maybe just grew up here in America and are Polynesian, you've only seen a certain light. It's different from where you come from. If you're back home in the islands or if you're growing up here, but that doesn't mean you can't see the beauty of what it can bring. Yeah. And also and I think that also helps us when we reach people. Mm-hmm. We'll see the ones that are burnt out, and then we'll also see the ones that are like, yeah, this is great. I definitely need that. But understanding that if they're saying no, it's because of the mindset that they came from. Yeah. So.
No, I totally agree with you. When you see our traditions done the right way, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
When you go to the way we come together as a people, it's something that I see that's very unique to us. Mm-hmm. That we can just show up and drop everything for each other. It's a beautiful thing. That I don't want to lose. But what we need to figure out is we need to figure out the solutions to a lot of the problems that a lot of the complaints from the younger generation that they're facing. I think that's what we tend to avoid or we don't have a conversation about. So we got to address every single problem, offer a solution. But the reality is by having a solution to a lot of those problems we have to adjust the way we do things. It's going to require change. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue with a lot of the older generation. They just they fear change and they don't want to change. even though change is inevitable. It's part of life, right? What's that? The only constant in life is change,
It's true.
right? So in everything, all aspects of our life, and it's something that it's taking a lot. The older generation is going to be a lot hard for them to accept, but that is the reality that things have to change if we want things to improve, and we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. But it's going to require for us to have this discussion and really implement some real active solutions. This is what we can do. It will take time. It's not going to happen. It's probably going to happen in our lifetime. It's not going to happen with the older generation's time. I also want to address and I think you guys can know about this. There's a lot of times when we have these five love lovers and the fatongias, a lot of times people just do it to flex.
Yes.
Yeah, when it comes to family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's something that we have to address.
I agree.
Like we have to stay in our lane when it comes to having these types of celebrations, five love lovers or fatongias. I've seen it so many times where they had the money to do their marriage or take care of their funeral, but they wanted to do it big. And that's why they asked for more money, even though they had enough money to do it. But because they want to show big and to want to flex and want to prove everybody, then that's why they ask for money. And there's a lot of times people have the money to do it. They want to flex.
Do you want to use the other money?
Yeah, so they're going to ask for more money, even though they had the resources to do it. And that's something that we need to address in our culture. We got to stop flexing. And so, the old heads, they love to flex.
Oh.
Like you can do it with 2 pigs. You don't need 10 pigs.
Yeah.
All right. You don't need to buy the entire store or have a basket gift for everybody. Man, I mean, it's a beautiful thing when you see it, the way all the decorations.
But was it necessary?
But it wasn't necessary. So, especially if you're coming to a funeral, you don't need to flex in a funeral. Just handle the funeral for that person that died. But for me, sometimes I believe people who tend to use it to flex, and that bothers me because like the most important thing is this person that just passed away, but now you're using it for your own selfish reasons to flex to your family members, whatever reason they have. But that's something that we gotta stop doing that.
I agree. It's in every family. Oh, the so and so family donated $20,000, right? It's like, okay, where's all that money went to? It's but like you said, everyone's trying to flex this, represent the family name, but is it necessary? Yeah, they could have used that money for something else or donate to the person that actually needed it.
The funniest thing, I don't know if you guys see this in your culture, but in the fatongias and the Tongans, there's always this Tongan person that comes up, when it's time to give a speech. And especially when it comes to donating money, they'll say something like, I come from very humble beginnings and I don't have a lot of money. And I grew up poor, but here's 50,000.
Flex.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Or it's either that or it's like, here's a small token of 50,000. Like, that's a lot of money.
Well, not even just it being a lot of money, but like, obviously it goes along with lines of flexing. It's like, why do you have to announce it?
Yeah.
Like, because you could, there's certain people where you could tell, like, you just go sit down next to them and you're like, you kind of just put it on their butt, you just slide it and you're like, and then you walk away, right? And those are the people that obviously you don't necessarily want recognition, but it's like, for these people who are like, yeah, here's my small token of 50,000. You're like, you're just doing it mainly because you want attention.
Yeah.
Right. You literally just want attention. And then even putting your family name out there. And the reason why I say that is because like with my parents, like my mom's like, I just want to be cremated. And then can you guys just go out to like a buffet or something? Like, I don't care. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm pretty sure my siblings won't want that. But, and then my dad's like, nope. Go big or go home, baby. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yep, I want a whole like celebration, like all week. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, all right, whatever. So, it literally is just a mindset. And at the end of the day, the flexing is just, it is crazy when you see sometimes with families and how far they go to put their name out there.
Yeah.
But then it also, if you are looking from the outside looking in and you understand the mindset that you're in, you're able to see what type of mindset that they have based off of what they had just planned for their family members, or you know what I mean? It's either they're fighting or they're just like, no, they want to flex because they want their family name to carry on and be this like huge family who's like on top and like don't want to, lower themselves in society, in the cultural society because this family member passed away.
My friend calls it humble bragging. You humble bragger.
Humble bragger.
You know, to be honest, I whenever I've gone to funerals, I honestly don't pay attention to that. So it's like I don't see it, and so like whenever I hear the like families talk about, I'm like, wait, when did that happen? They're like, you didn't see so and so. I'm like, no. I'm like, I was eating the food.
Yeah.
At the funeral,
Yeah.
and I was like paying attention to like the speeches that they were talking about their life, their experience with this person, and so I mean, I don't really.
I think you'll experience once you,
Humble brag.
yeah, once you come out of
Humble.
pocket for that, you know.
Yeah.
Humble bragging.
When I gave the $23,000, I was like, where did that go? You know, I don't
start
know where it
looking.
went, literally. But I know when are they gonna say my name, right? So like, like
To
where
say
did it
thank you.
go?
Yep.
You know, so I didn't see that, and I didn't care because it went to my grandma. You know,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
but I heard a lot of drama between my mom and their siblings, like where the money, right? So I was like, Mom, you dealt with that. I gave you the money. I don't care where it went, as long as it took care of everything that was supposed to be taken care of.
But it does cause a feud
It
a
does
lot of
cause-
times too, especially when they're not only are they emotional because you're trying to plan a funeral, right? But then you're bringing up your own opinion, like how we're doing right now, right? You're bringing up your own opinion. Oh, I think, and it's nothing against those guys, by the way, that you guys use this, but I think my loved one needs to be in a carriage from the chapel all the way up to the burial site. I'm like, okay, like that's like an extra $10,000. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's nothing against anybody who's on here who's listening. I'm just, I'm throwing it out there because I've been to many funerals and many, celebration of lives, and some are super simple. They just are cremated in a box, and you say your goodbyes, and that's it, and everybody goes and eats. And there's others where they're just super long, drawn out. The family wants to, which is fine too, but it just depends. That's why money is a big deal too. All these people like have all these ideas of, oh, this is how mom wanted to celebrate, or this is how our brother would want to be remembered. I'm like, is it though? Is it really though?
Did they write it in there?
Did they write exactly right? Like, how would you know, right? And you're so similar to you. I know you said that your mom and their siblings were fighting over all this stuff, but honestly, at the end of the day, the only one who probably should have had a voice, and the only voice they should have listened to, was your mom's, because she was the one who fronted. Right? You're the one who fronted the whole funeral. So the only voice and the only opinion that should have mattered in plans were probably hers. But yet she opened it up to all of the siblings wanting to think what grandma wanted, to do for her celebration of life.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I've seen 2-3 weeks long funerals. For what?
I know.
And I'm telling you, if you're a big name,
It's gonna
draw even longer, because you're gonna wait for all the people to come do their offerings.
Yep.
Like, what's the use of all that?
Yeah.
The only use for that is because they want the money.
Yeah.
That's given from the other family.
Yeah.
Right. Just pay your respect and then do that on the side.
Yeah.
In my opinion, okay. There's no need for a 3-week,
So
funeral.
how do you recommend that to our culture, or how do we implement that moving forward?
Well, if you have money, then do it however long you want.
Yep.
But if you don't have the money, there's no use of dragging this out for 3 weeks and having the body out. Just bury it, and then do the offerings later. Right? Because all the money. Imagine, because you have to provide food for everyone that showed up.
Yeah.
Where'd that
in our
money come
culture.
from?
Yep.
Right.
Which
that
is
means they have
separate.
to front that money too. to pay
Separate
for
from
that,
the
and that's
burial,
separate
yep.
from the burial.
Separate
So-
from all the gifts you're gonna give. Yep.
Just come pay your respect, because a lot of people are there for the food, right? Hey, I'm being honest. Cancel me. But they should come pay their respect, and then just go on with your day. In my opinion, right? If take the money and then use that for certain things, pay off what the family needs, because it's strictly for that family, there,
Yeah.
right? And not for the people that showed up. Because majority of them will show up, take their offering, and then the family does a reverse, whatever, and it's
Gives it back.
So
It's like a business. Huh?
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's
But to
crazy.
drag that for 3 weeks?
Well, not
a
3
month,
weeks.
It's
My opinion would be that it depends on the status of that person. And the only reason why I say that is because in going through my grandfather's funeral, he was the high chief in our village and our district. And so, of course, his funeral, and he was the president of the Senate. So his funeral obviously had to be, it wasn't like 3 weeks long, but in preparations, it was like a week or 2 weeks long. But his services was only 2 days, if that makes any sense. It's because it took, the community wise, like he needed, the village wanted to honor him. The church wanted to honor him. The legislator wanted to honor him, right? The governor's office wanted to honor him just because of how his status was, right? And what he did to give back to the community. So the community wanted to give back to him. So obviously it just depends on, for me, it depends on status, right? But then of course, he also had life insurance. He also took care of our family. And he also had, you know, he was able to diversify his portfolio. So he had other money coming in.
Shout out to your grandpa.
I know. All right. So, you know, yes, did the siblings put in? They did, just to get everything going. But then when his policy paid out, they all got paid back, right? And so, yes, they had to provide that. But it was such, that's what I mean, that the beauty of our Falavas and the Fatuinas, right, is when our culture does come together, like it's amazing. It is so amazing to watch, right? But the evil part of that is if money is like the sole purpose of the motivation on what the whole event was about. Like it wasn't on my grandfather, it was on money, you know. But no, that on this in this occasion, because he took care of everything before he died, the whole focus was him. It wasn't money. So afterwards, when everybody leaves, and I know everybody has probably experienced this, right? After everybody leaves, after you get buried, right? The family comes together, whoever's left over, and they figure out what bills need to be paid left and how much money do we have left after giving it all away, right? And then we can divvy that up. And if we're able to, as a culture, if we're able to walk away from that specific meeting that happens right after, and we're like, we're good, like, and not trying to like slit each other's throats, trying to, you know, get more money than the others, then you know for a fact, okay, cool. That was an amazing and beautiful display of our culture. You know, on top of life insurance and on top of our, whoever that family member was, they took care of business in honor of us. So that at the end of the day, yes, we should be thanking Grandpa, because it was because of him that he thought of us. And it was because of him that we're not fighting each other right now, trying to, I need 10 grand. Oh, Will gets 10 grand. Why? Why does he get more than I do? I took care, you know what I mean? Like, nope, he thought of us. We all got the same. He took care of everything, and we're able to walk away and enjoy his memory. And allow him to live on.
Yeah. And I also just want to add to, because I know sometimes when you have these conversations, because I have certain cousins that constantly complain about the things that we're talking about right now. And to push back some accountability and responsibility on their part, if you keep complaining about something that you keep actively participating in, you can't really blame the older generation.
Right.
You know, I chose to decide to distance myself from it. And I understood there was going to be consequences to it, you know, the way I get perceived from a lot of my family members in judgment. I accepted those consequences because I know for a fact that I didn't want the financial strain that they were asking me, and the things I saw that we all agreed that I didn't agree with, all the bad parts of it, all the negative parts, I just didn't want to participate in it no more. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to participate in the future. But you brought up a great example of when it's done the right way, it's a beautiful thing. You know, he was a chief, 2 weeks long. He had life insurance. Everybody got paid out. See, that's what we're talking about right now. When we implement these modern solutions to it, we can still practice it and go hard and go big. Right. But we have the resources to do it. So, but it's going to take a lot of us to stand up for ourselves and do what's right. And I do see a lot of times, like, I do understand it's hard to say no to your family members, especially if it's your parents, right? Especially if it's the people you grew up with. It's hard, but I'm not saying it's going to be easy. That's the thing I have to explain to everybody. It's not going to be easy for you to implement a lot of the things that we just discussed right now. It's going to be extremely hard. A lot of people are going to hate you. A lot of people are going to judge you, but you have to make those decisions and live with it. But the ultimate goal is like what's best for you, you know. Right? So you can't have it both ways, and that's the thing that I see from the younger generation. And also with the parents that like to go hard and go big, I agree. If you as a parent has done the work and you have the money, the resources to do it, great, you can go hard. But the saddest thing for me is a lot of these parents live with their kids and give the bill to their kids, and that's the saddest thing for me. You know, they don't pay, the parents don't pay the tab, the kids pay the tab, and I've seen this so many times where selfishness of the parents have a big function, have a big marriage, have a big donation to the church, but the kids are the one paying it. And the kids are barely, they barely have any jobs, or they're barely struggling themselves with their jobs. They would use that relationship to their advantage. And I think that's not a good way. I don't think we should be able to take advantage of our kids and put them in the worst situation. I think as parents, our responsibility is to give our kids a better opportunity that we had.
Yeah.
So I just see this a lot with, I'm not saying all parents, but there are some parents I can just see, man, their kids, they put that burden on their kids. A lot of times, the parents have that mentality that's, oh, it's my kids, whatever.
They will take care of me.
I took care of you. No, you did your responsibility.
Right.
No, it wasn't about you taking care of your kids, because I've heard that from a lot of Pacific Islander kids. Oh, I did this. No, you did that because that's what a parent does.
Right.
Right. You shouldn't use that against me to want me to do something for you that I don't want to do. Right. So that doesn't mean that I don't love you. I just disagree with this part right here. And I think that's a different conversation. And a lot of kids find it really hard to have that conversation with their parents, because the parents will use the guilt trip. I'm your parents. I did this for you. But it's just, and that's why they find themselves in that situation. Yeah. And it's really hard to have that conversation.
It's very hard, because it's like you have parents that originated from the island.
Yeah.
And they brought their family here, and then their kids are ingrained in the American society.
Yeah.
But yet you're Polynesian.
Yeah.
And then so it's like, how do you balance both cultures? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it comes back to like parents that come from a, where they didn't have opportunity. Now their kids are living that opportunity and taking advantage of that opportunity. So it's for the kids that are Polynesian, that live in America, that don't take advantage of the opportunity. It's a sad thing to see, because it's like your parents came here for you to do that, but you're not doing it. And you're not doing what your parents brought you over here to do, is to be better than what they had back home. Yeah. And so like you said, you see a lot of parents come from the island, and they exploit their kids and give them that tab. Yeah. And it's like, you came here, but they do it regardless of if they're successful or not.
Yeah.
They'll exploit them for working at McDonald's, and it's like, but it is possible if you plan everything strategically and properly. So
Are we offline yet?
First of all, you've been canceled for
I'm waiting.
We canceled you 2 questions ago.
None of those guys are gonna pay my bills.
I think you said canceled 6 times. Don't cancel me.
Please.
Okay,
Don't
definitely
come
cancel.
Not the host, please. Me. My name is Damien.
I'll accept it, but all right. I want to transition into something that you brought up a great point earlier, the opportunity to come here to America and make a living. For me, this is my perspective. I believe America is the best place ever. Capitalism.
Fact.
I love capitalism. All right. America, to me, is the only place where you can come from nothing and make something out of yourself, literally. Come with nothing.
I agree.
Literally make something out of yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I came here. It's just the best place to make something out of yourself. But sometimes I do see people that I wasn't even born here. I see kids who are born here and they don't realize the opportunity they have here in America, especially in 2024, with all the resources, the ways you can make money. We have the internet, we have social media. There's literally no reason why people can't be successful. The way I see it is there's no excuse because of the internet. Whenever you don't know how to do something, you can just go on the internet, on YouTube, how to do this, and it will just come up.
Yep.
Right. So there's literally no reason why people can say that there's a limitation to stop them from achieving the results they had. I do see for a lot of the kids that they don't see that perspective, but I do understand as well because they grew up here. The only reason why I see it this way because I grew up in Tonga, so I have a different perspective. I can see the contrast between both.
Okay.
Right. That's I saw that growing up in Tonga, there's not a lot of opportunities there. So I realized America was the place to be. So when I came here, I was like, I was that mentality, man, this is the best place to be. But they don't have that comparison. So they just see America as a place they grew up in, right? But why do you think a lot of our Pacific Islanders they're so hesitant to go outside the norm of the jobs or the professions that our people stereotypically do? Like people work at the airport, people work caretaking, yate, we call it in Tongan is yate or construction. I don't know what you guys call it in Samoan, but you do see a lot of these kids, even the younger generation, who grew up in this time in the internet age, the social media age, we have all these opportunities to make money, but they always find themselves doing the exact same jobs as our parents did. Now, I don't blame our parents for doing those jobs because that's all they had and that's all what they knew when they first came here. You know, they had to make a living. They didn't know the language, so they had to navigate these places. So whatever jobs they can get to survive, that's the jobs that they did. And a lot of it, that's why a lot of them work at the airport or they work caretaking or they did construction, because when you come into a different country, you just take what you can get. And that's why a lot of our older generation work those jobs. But I do see a lot of kids doing the exact same thing, but they're also complaining why they're not making a lot of money. So, and then when they see you guys trying new things, new opportunities or financial avenues that you guys are going into, it's hard for them to see you guys like, wait, I mean, why are you guys going into financial or into life insurance? You know, why don't we just stick to what we know, right? And I have so many family members and friends who are very intelligent, got talent, good with numbers, you know, good with math, but
They're not using it.
they're not using it. And they just fall into the cycle, right? Because the parents did one thing, that's all they saw growing up. So they just think this is just what we do. But we're more than that. Why are a lot of our generation still doing the same old jobs that our people doing, and they're not trying to go outside and try something new for themselves?
I'd say it's because it's easy.
Yeah.
That's when we talk about entrepreneurship, it doesn't fit the normal mold per se.
Yeah.
And again, you can try to do a job that is 6 or 7 figures. And by the way, fun fact, the industry that is making and producing the most millionaires is the financial
industry.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, but it's because it's what's easy. Like, and I can speak for my parents when they came. My dad immediately went into working the shipyards here in the Bay.
Yeah.
And that's because that's what everyone else was doing. The family that, you know, brought him out here, like all the uncles, all, you know, everyone, that's what they were doing. That's what the men did.
Yeah.
And so my mom is also someone that was in the nursing
Yeah.
care facility,
Yeah.
like, and that's what we know. They were using what they know. And these are like, that industry is like literally using your hands and the, using the, what's the word I'm looking for? The things in our culture that we know from back home and implementing it into the industries that are most familiar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what I think, that at least from my experience, my parents being in those 2 industries. But then the next generation is like, oh, if that's what they're doing, then something similar. And unless you're getting the education and you're fostering and you're using it to say, okay, this is what my parents did, I'm going to do something above, but not even like all the way above, thinking outside the box. In our industry, there is no box. Like, and that's what scares some people. It's like, whoa, you can be successful, but don't be too successful. Don't be more successful than me. Like, the comparisons are insane. If you were to post that you got the job or that you got a position, so many people will celebrate you.
Yeah.
You start saying, I am starting this new business, you don't get as many likes. And that's what baffles me. It's like, we don't celebrate the wins of others because it shows the flaws of, dang, what am I doing with my life?
That's true.
The reflection then becomes, what am I doing? If they can do it, they came from the same beginnings. Their parents came from the same beginnings, and look what they've done with the opportunity. Now it's a true reflection of, look where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it becomes, the whole pushback becomes, I just want to wait to see them fail.
Mhm.
I want to see how far they get. Oh, okay. Now they're all hyped about it. Now they're doing a podcast. Let's see how far they get from here.
Yeah.
A year from now, you know, and that's, I think, the beauty of working with like-minded people. You don't rely on the negativity or the, you know, the things that come from the outside looking in. You are just, I'm focused on where I need to go. Just like you said, well, you saw the end result and you're just, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Block out the noise.
Yeah.
You block out the noise. And what I want for our people, Samoan, Tongan, whatever the case may be, is I want you to say, maybe I did have a negative mindset about, I can't see myself working outside the airport. This is all I know. I get great benefits, but yet I'm still unhappy. Why?
Yeah.
And realizing you're seeing us. I started working at the airport, but the private sector of it, customer service, that's easy. I mean, it's not easy dealing with difficult customers, but using what I've learned from that industry and taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Because now when I sit with clients and, we have great experiences and then we have the difficult conversations, I'm using what I've learned in those industries and now saying, I'm ready to level up, and taking it to another level to be able to create the financial independence, but more so to let the next generation see if she can do it, I can do it too.
Facts.
It just takes that person stepping out of their comfort zone. Comfort zone is basically our worst enemy, settling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Which is true. I think everyone's comfortable with where they're at. They can complain all they want, but if they don't take the time to go find other means of making more income, then you'll never make an extra stream of income. I believe, and it's following, your family members like, oh, he's doing this. They're going after the benefit. You can travel for free, right? That's great. But then when you start complaining about how much you make, you chose that trade, right? But what are you going to do for yourself to better yourself and try to make more money? Are you going to stay at the same position that you're at? Or are you going to go find other places where, if I heard that the financial industry was producing more millionaires, I would have went and find information how to get there, right? Because usually I'm not going to sit here and take one of my friends' advice versus over someone that makes $1 million, right? I'm going to go to the person and ask him, hey, how did you go from A to B?
Yeah.
Show me. Or you're going to associate yourself with your cousins and friends that are, working paycheck to paycheck, and then hang out on the weekends and then repeat the same process.
Yeah.
And I think we put ourselves there because accountability, and we're taking other people's advice and not associating yourself with like-minded people that wants to see you progress.
And they have this saying, like one of my mentors said this, we say the sky is the limit. How is that even possible when men have gone to the moon?
Yeah, that's true.
Dang.
Sky is the limit. Like we take those notions and the things that, we hear, it's taboo, and run with it. But it's like, you will not make more than you believe you're worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
You will not make a cent more than you believe that you're worth. And it's that moment. There's two reasons, two special moments in a person's life: the day they were born and the day they realize why.
Yeah.
When you figure out your why, man, you are unstoppable.
Yeah.
But if you're just in this identity crisis of still trying to figure it out, that's okay. But guess what? Time is not on your side.
Not
That's
at
the
all.
thing. That's the thing.
Not at all.
I mean, is anybody here? I know you said you used to work at the private sector
Mhm.
at the airport. Anybody here worked caretaking or airport?
We have a lot of family members at the
Oh, okay.
airport.
Military, even the military, right?
Yeah. One thing I learned what I love about the military is them shaping me
Yes.
Yes.
to the person I am today.
Yeah.
If I would have never joined the military, I don't know what kind of person I would have been, but the military has taught me a lot about life, how to be a leader, but it's never taught me about finances.
No.
Right. So I got into the financial industry and it changed the way I think.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all about adapting new, behaviors so that you could go from just good to great.
Yeah.
But a lot of people join the military, like our Samoan community. Why? Because we were taught two things in Samoa: get a scholarship or join the military.
The military.
Right. So those are the only two ways off the islands. Right? If you didn't get a scholarship, then just join our military and become successful. So, but I've seen a lot of kids that join are doing really well.
Yeah.
But for those that are working at the airport, nothing wrong with that. They need somebody to do it, and the benefit's great. I heard.
Yeah.
So traveling for free. Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
Those buddy passes. Shout out.
Buddy
Yeah.
Shout out to the buddy passes.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, it's I'll pass it to Savannah. What do you think?
Well, I know that these guys touched a little bit more on it, but The only three words that kept coming to my mind was access. They don't feel like they have the access to these upper level positions.
Yeah.
My second word is resources. They don't know that there are resources out there that allow them to have this access. Over the past year or so, since going into this, into finances full time, I've made so many different connections and collaborations with so many different business owners, right? But also nonprofit groups, community works groups, and in just hearing all of the resources that they have, that they can provide to people, especially where we live. We live in Medford, in Oregon. I always say this. I was like, there's no reason why there should be any homeless people on the street.
Yeah.
The only reason why they should be on there is because they choose to be homeless. They so much choose to be homeless because they don't want to conform to certain rules, right? Or they don't want to pay their rent, right? Either way. And then the last one would be pride. Pride, because you touched on it a little, is because similar to us, right? And taking the leap, becoming a financial professional, or even with you taking the leap to being a podcaster, right? And doing this full time, it's different for your family members, for our family members, right? Heck, my siblings, right? It's different than what I was on track to do, right? I was also at the airport too on the private sector. I thought it was cool at the time, but then I got told I was capped at my job, and that was at $22.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Which obviously at the time I was like, that's a lot of money, but at the same time, I'm like, this is it for me, $22 an hour, right? And so in the pride sector of that is when you are going into something that's obviously into the unknown, and you're going to be in entrepreneurship and you're building a business. It's I think a lot of times our people, they don't want to do it because they're afraid, but it's like they're so worried and too prideful about what their family members will think of them, right? So of course they don't know they have access to it, that they can have access to these higher level positions or jobs or business ownership positions. They don't know that there are resources out there that can help them get there without having to go to a 4-year college, right? Or a junior college. But then also, they're so worried about what their family would think of them if they take that leap into taking any of these other positions, let alone being an entrepreneur. So,
all right. And then, did you want to add on?
I think it all comes down to your environment.
True.
Again, if you're on, because every day we interact with people, and if you don't interact with people, then you're a hermit crab. But every day you're gonna be with someone, whether it's your family, whether it's your friend, whether it's your coworker. And so I think it's important for our people to surround ourselves with like my sister said, like-minded people. Because if you're, no judgment on people that just go and smoke weed and, and young Polynesians that are into that, because don't get too used to that, because once you start doing something out of that norm that's considered elevating yourself, they're going to judge you and they're going to scrutinize you because you're separating yourself from what they know you as, your group of people. And so I think it's, like I said, it's very important to be around what you ultimately want to be. If you want to be rich, if you want to be a millionaire, then go look for millionaires to be your mentor or your friends or whatever. If you want to be a airport, worker, then by all means go do that.
Yeah.
But the people that even your family, the people that you surround yourself with, that will be the person that you end up doing. So if you want to get into these fields with finances, hit us up.
But I also think doing it while you're young, right now, right?
Yeah.
If you're 18, you're trying to figure out your life, I wholeheartedly believe in the whole concept of, work your ass off in your 20s so you can live like you want to live in your 30s and 40s.
Yes.
Don't say YOLO and live it up, because I know all four of us did, and going to college and living it up. I was also in the military too. So it's You know, we're young right now. We can do whatever we want. You know, we're invincible. And now we're like, crap, we're a little older now. So now we're playing catch up.
Yeah.
Right. And so in taking any lessons from that too, right? If you're on this podcast or you're listening, right? If you're 18 or your early 20s and you're like, I'm just going to smoke weed and, you know, play video games all day. I was like, hey, if that pays you, great. But if you're just doing that because you're like YOLO, you're in your early 20s, you're just trying to live it up. And then you'll worry about having to be an adult later. Like, no, flip that. Because if you work your ass off in your 20s, you will literally be able to set yourself up for success, you know, for your 30s moving on. Remember, retirement is not an age, it's a number.
That's true.
Dollar amount, right? Imagine if you just turned 25 and you worked the last 5 years and worked your ass off and doing it, and you made millions at 25. You can retire at 25 because you have millions and you have residual income for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, again, retirement is not an age. You don't have to wait until you're 59 and a half. You don't have to wait until you're 65. Like, it's a number. It's a number.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on retirement?
I think last time I saw online, I was looking at an article, the amount of money that you need to make now in today's economy to be able to retire comfortably. I think that number is like 2.5 million, right? 2.5 million.
Comfortably.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about comfortably. And that's why for me is the way I see retirement is the same way I saw success. It's just outcome. The reality is most people work 40 years and they're not going to have $2.5 million in the bank. Right?
No.
And the sad reality for a lot of people, and we're starting to see it now, is they retire and then spend whatever retirement money they have and realize it's not enough and have to go back to the workforce and work again. It's one of the saddest things I do see when I go to a store and I see a 65 elderly person, 60, 70, even 80 years old working, which just shows to me that they didn't plan for it.
Yes.
And now they're in a situation where they have to work, when I know for a fact that most old people wouldn't want to work. I know I wouldn't want to work.
Right.
In my 80s, my 70s, I just want to be living a life. We're all going to be 60, 70, 80 at some point. So the way I see it is I want to put in the work now and sacrifice when I have the energy and the time to do it. It's a lot easier to do it now when we have the vitality to do it. I'm not saying you can't do it later, but it's going to be hard in your 50s and 60s to rebuild yourself. But if that's how much you want to do it, and I've seen people who changed around in their 40s and 50s, and they have a plan in retirement. But it all comes down to long-term thinking. I think we live in a society today, instant gratification, right? Yep. Everything's now, and there's no conversation for long-term. And I think that's why a lot of people get caught up into it. And that's just, for me, I've always been a long-term thinker. And I think that's a reflection of the people I chose to hang around with. I wasn't always that way. Like, we were all young and made stupid shit and did dumb things, right? But it only took one mentor. You mentioned mentorship. Just one person was my sales job, and I saw his lifestyle and I saw how he lived, and I told myself, I want that life. And he broke it down to me. I think things long term. I don't plan things short term. He was only 32, 33, and I was 23. He was already set for life, but he was still working, right? And I was astonished because I never saw that in my community or in my family. Most people in my whole family is still working in the 50s and the 60s. So to see somebody that's 32, 33, already set up for life, but they're working because they want to, not because they have to. They're living life on their own terms. Yeah. That changed the way, my perspective of when it comes to planning for my future. And that's something that he always told me. It was like, look, I saw my parents work their entire life. I'm grateful for my parents because I wouldn't have the foundation of what I have right now. But I realized, that's why he told me, I realized that I did not want to live the same life as my parents. And that's something I want to push back to people who are watching this. That's something I always see the younger generation as an excuse they would use. Oh, I didn't have the mentorship. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have this. But the thing is, for me, is whatever examples of the things that you saw in your life, you know exactly what you want and what you don't want. So if you don't want the things that you saw growing up, just do the opposite. It's simple rationality. I saw my parents, love them to death. They both worked. My dad was a security officer, and then my mom worked as a nurse caretaking, but they worked until their 60s. Now they have a pension plan. They can take care of themselves. I realized growing up, I was like, I don't want to do the exact same thing. I don't want that same path. So what's the opposite path? And then I was grateful to come across somebody that had that path, and he was able to introduce that idea and that plan to me. But that's why we were talking about try new things, because when you try new things, you run into new people, into new ways of thinking, new perspectives,
Right.
things. And then a lot of times the reason why most people don't try out and do something new is just because their reality becomes their belief. So if all you see is caretaking, airport, and yate and construction, then that's going to become your reality.
Exactly.
And you don't see outside of that, because that's all you see, which I don't blame them.
Right.
But if you want something new, it just still comes to trying something new. You don't need the perfect upbringing. You just got to see the things that you don't want in your life and see the things that you do want, and just do the opposite. All your, like you brought up the great point, smoking and drinking, right? I used to smoke and drink, but then at some point in my life growing up, I was like, I don't see this happening the next 20 years of my life. It got repetitive. The way I see retirement is something that everybody has to face. And then the question is, are you doing the work right now so that way you have that 2.5 million?
Yep.
All right. If you have more, great. But statistically, you need 2.5 million to live a very comfortable life. And I don't want to work for the rest of my life. When it gets to the later part of my life, I just want to spend time with my kids, grandkids.
People on average right now are retiring with about 182,000. And that's the average.
Yeah.
Most people are like below in our culture.
Yeah.
They don't even have that.
Yeah.
And for people that say that money isn't everything, well, 40% of marriages and divorces are because of financial stress.
Facts.
And so it's like, it's a huge deal. 60% of Americans will get diagnosed with illnesses that lead, and the leading cause is because of financial stress, not just any stress, it's financial stress. So if we're watching our family members and finding out they're getting sick, and it's leading back to stress. And what is causing them so much stress? Finances.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing up these topics because, yes, retirement is something that we have to face. But in a generation, in a world right now where everything is at our fingertips, most people are in the generation that we're seeing is YOLO.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't even want to worry about retirement because I'm living right here. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but then they start to live 10, 15, 20 years, and the results of what they did 10, 15, 20 years ago will show up.
Yeah, it's gonna add up.
And so I think that's why bringing up that conversation now, the little things that you do can go a long way. Like a lot of people think, I have to do all these drastic changes. No, it's the little things that you do. And the reason why I joined this industry is because my dad had a huge retirement party. It was great. Like we had family come from all over, but then the dust settled and we realized how much he had to retire on. And like what you said, Will, it was like, okay, now the reality is you're going to run out of money after 2 years of retirement.
Yep.
What are we going to do? Because I thought everything was in place. He thought Social Security was going to take care of him.
Yeah.
It was barely enough for even a car payment and insurance. So it's like, that's the reality that we're sitting with ourselves. Like, okay, thankfully my dad has kids who love him and don't want to see him go back to work.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for a lot of other
Most people,
adults.
yeah.
They're just like, especially if you're not someone or Tongan or Polynesian, where in a society where like the kids just go off and do their own thing, parents are now left to like, people are living longer.
Yeah.
That's why we're having this conversation about retirement. People are living longer and they're outliving their savings. They're outliving what they had saved because they didn't have that hard conversation. It was just, they didn't. And for my dad, he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
He just thought this is what, everyone else is doing. And, but reality hit us like, oh, there's taxes. Oh, so that's not what I actually get. This is what I get to keep. And so, love my dad to death, because without that situation, I wouldn't be in this,
That's true.
I'd be still working in the customer service industry. Now I'm taking that platform and I'm saying, okay, I want to help serve my community in this capacity where I don't want to see another parent that's in a position where they're just like, wow, I celebrated my retirement because it was my time and now I have nothing to show for it. I'm worried. I'm living life in such a frantic mess. So
Which it goes around to, just to add on top of that is, now that he's, and that it's not, I'm just using it as him as an example. It's now there's very few positions that they can even take if they do go back to work,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's the whole host at the Walmart, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like opening doors at like a business,
Yeah.
what do you call it? A big business building,
Blue
right?
collar.
And and taking like the lowest of the low, but they ran out of money. And not only that, but it's not like, and even if they do have the qualifications, their age is now in question because they're so old, so they can't hire an 85-year-old engineer, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or a construction worker, even though he's very good with the crane or very good with like a digger. Like, I can't hire him; he's 85, right? He might up and die on the thing. So it's like, it's like a double-edged sword when it comes to retirement, and our older folks and parents, uncles and aunts who are retiring and who run out of money like this, and them thinking about going back to the workforce. They're very, very limited on what they can go back and do to try to restart their income, which is crazy.
You mentioned something about drastic changes. Sometimes when I have conversations with certain friends and family members, they ask me about the things that I do, and I explain it to them. And a lot of times they think, isn't that too drastic, or isn't that too extreme? I'm like, yes, it is extreme. And the reason why I say it is extreme because reality is extreme.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. So the things that you have to do to prepare for your retirement plan, to make sure you have at least 2.5 million or more,
Right.
it is going to require an extreme and drastic lifestyle. Because most people aren't getting that outcome.
Right.
So that means that people who are getting the outcome are doing certain things that most people aren't willing to do. And the question is just going to come down to you: are you willing to do those things? And it's going to require doing things that most people are never going to do. So you're going to be doing something that you're not going to fit in.
Mhm.
You're going to be different from everybody.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean that what you're doing is wrong. And I think a lot of times we live in a society that we want to be accepted. We're trying to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's cool in high school, and that's what we did.
Yep.
But this life ain't high school.
Right.
Like, life is not high school. So that's why I'm very extreme with the way I move and the things I do, because I understand how extreme life can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to find myself in that situation, because life doesn't care. When it hits you, it hits you
Nope.
Yeah.
hard. Right. So that's why preparation for me is important. I think a lot of times because of our traditions and our culture, the reason why a lot of our family members don't work towards preparing for a retirement plan, because you know what every Tongan Samoan's retirement plan is?
Their kids. Exactly.
Their kids.
You guys said it.
Yep.
Their kids. It's just, when I'm done. And I also understand it. One of the beautiful things about culture is we take care of our own.
Yep.
We don't we don't do white people take them to the
Exactly.
retirement home, right?
Yes.
I just don't want to say that's only white people.
Cancel.
Everybody
Yes.
else sends their elderly to their retirement home. The one thing I love about our culture, and that it's a beautiful thing, is we take care of our own. And the way I see it is, I'm gonna be financially independent to the point where I can take care of myself. But it's not a burden I want to
Right.
put on my kids. They can live because they have their own lives. I don't want to limit them of something that I didn't do and prepare for myself. I have a friend, his mom passed away, so his father relies on him. I think he has 7 siblings, but he was good enough to play football, to get a scholarship, to go to a good school. I forgot the school what it was, but he had to give up that scholarship
Wow.
because his father couldn't maintain the household without him if he chose to go to school.
Right.
So he had to make a choice. So he decided to give up the scholarship.
Wow.
And take care and work and get a job to take care of his dad and his siblings. But for me, it was like, man, college degree, opportunities to go to somewhere else, that is going to limit your future.
Yeah.
And I know it's a hard decision he has to make, dad over future. But the thing for me is, like, we shouldn't put our kids in that situation where we have to choose their future or the financial stability of family right now, because we're going to sacrifice. And I see a lot of kids, they have to sacrifice their future so they can take care of their parents and their siblings.
Yeah.
Because one of them passes away.
No, I think everything right now, especially with our generation, I think moving forward, things will get better.
Yeah.
Because our parents and our grandparents were one of like the first generations here in America. And so I think things will slowly get better.
Yeah.
Like Damien's kids and Damien's grandkids.
Future scammers.
yeah, like I think it'll be towards at the point where Damien hopefully will, you know, instill in them what he knew and what he learned in his lifetime being here in America. To the point where it's like, okay, hey, Damien, we got that retirement home waiting for you. But no, I think I like the fact of you said take care of our own.
Yeah,
I do like that. You know, I think you also have to consult with your partner.
that's true. That's true.
I mean, because no, like for real, like I know there's like some relationships where it's like they expect their partner to be okay with their parents living and being taken care of by them, but it's like okay, and we're not gonna say anything because it's like I love you, and so if I love you, I love your parents too, apparently. So it's like I don't know. It's just the way I think our culture here in America, like it comes back to that balance, like because it's like culturally we don't want to put our parents in those you know facilities because it's like that's not what we do. But it's like how do we balance that, especially if our parents didn't have a plan set up? You know, do we get them a house and put them in that house by themselves?
I think it starts with, right now that we have the platform, it starts with us, right? In order for us to change that, we need to change it amongst us because it's all too late now. We already taught what they taught us.
Yeah.
Now it's our turn to change that around and make sure that that doesn't get repeated. So that now when you have kids, you got to change the game for them and tell them, hey, start saving now at 20. All right. I wish I would have known now 5 years ago when I was 20.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I was at 20, I would have retired by now. Right. If I would have learned about finances at age 20, I would have been financially ahead.
Especially if I got out of high school, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't teach us that. Right. So I think it starts with us to break generational curses such like this, especially when it comes to retirement. Now, I didn't see the value of retirement until I came into the business.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're just seeing everyone suffering. Now, shame on us to have the platform, and now we're providing solutions, and then we're not teaching it back to our kids. We failed.
Yeah.
Right. So it starts with us. We got to change that. You know,
Yeah.
I know my mom and you know my dad taught me different things, but life has changed and evolved, and things got better, and now we have to use the platform to just do better. I'm pretty sure 20 years from now, you know, retirement could be $4 million now, right? Because we can start saving now.
Yeah.
Inflation.
But
It's
if we
gonna go
don't,
higher.
it's gonna be even higher. So we can't depend on our government. We can only depend on ourselves, right? So when life hits us, knowing the fact that we have all these problems, but we didn't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So but having our license, shame on us for not going out there and help people out, right? Because I was approached. I didn't go seek financial help. I was approached by someone and said, hey, let's check out your retirement plan. Then we backtracked my retirement plan. I lost $91,000 in my TSP, right? So that's money I'll never get back.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't approached by her, I would have never learned about these financial solutions, right? So even if people are out there, they're not going, some of them are ashamed to go ask for help. I was glad I was approached by her because then I would have never heard about these financial solutions. I would have been financially ahead, you know? So sometimes they don't have to reach out to us. We're going to go out there and help people that actually wants to be helped. Just like me, I was approached by a financial professional, you know? So I'm glad she approached me. Honestly, now I have the platform to make sure that my family doesn't have to repeat that, you know? So it starts with us now that we have the platform to give back. So that's my take.
I have a funny question when I ask you because my family always asks this when somebody brought up when we're talking about retiring our parents, and then when somebody says, "Well, I have to run it by my spouse," do you have a balangi girlfriend?
Say it. You're gonna get
Good.
No come. Not kidding. Alpha.
Yeah. No, you know, it's just funny because every single time when somebody was bring up, usually we take up my parents. It's understood in our culture, but when that one family member, let me run about my wife. Wait,
It's white people shit.
you must have a balangi girlfriend.
Yeah.
Whoa. Asuelu didn't have a.
Who is that?
She was.
She's supposed to know.
Shout out to Asuelo.
Shout out to Asuelo.
But yeah, we have come to the end of the podcast. Appreciate the conversation, man. We had a great conversation.
No,
it was good.
Flew by so fast, man.
Yeah.
You went. I'm definitely excited to launch this once I'm done with it. But pass it back to you guys. What's your takeaways from today's conversation? What's your takeaways from it? Anything you want to add? Any want to add some lasting advice for everybody that's watching this show right now? And also, how can people find you so they can reach out to you, especially for the services that they want to get from you, but also if they just want to get some advice from you and just talk to you, the things that you guys all explained today. So they just want a different perspective. So final takeaways, final thoughts from today's conversation, and how can they find you? I'll start with you, Savannah.
Dang it. So one of my biggest takeaways from today was how we were able to incorporate culture with finances, right? And be able to talk about a lot of things that we have conversations about, and I'm pretty sure that are on a lot of people's minds, especially within our communities, right? Our Polynesian communities. And they have conversations in their own households, but they don't ever, one, either get answers, or two, the conversation never leaves. You know, that safe, what they call a safe space, which means that they don't go out and seek the information that they need, right? They'll just talk about it in there, and then they leave, and then they just go on and they do the same thing over and over and over again, right? So I love the fact that we were able to literally converse about what's important within our culture, right? Keeping our culture alive. How can we not change anything, not get rid of our culture, but how can we improve our culture and incorporate, you know, what the Palangi man showed us out here, which is more options for us and our finances, right? And taking advantage of those opportunities, right? Yes, I got licensed. This opportunity presented itself after working at the airport for over 6 years. No, it is not a scam because I did have to study for my license. I did have to get licensed in the states that I needed to help my clients in. So, you know, I thoroughly went through a background check. You know, I did put in the work to be able to get this license because there's a situation that happened with me and my family in finances. And so that's how I was able to do that. So I do have an Instagram, you know, our whole team does. And being able to shout that out too. I will put my information out there. I'll give that to Will so you guys have access to that. So if you guys would like to meet with any of us, I know these guys will also give out their information as well. But no, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you, Will, for the invitation to come and talk about, you know, and being authentic. When I say being authentic, being able to mix culture and finances, because they're not separate. They are one, but how can we continue to roll with the modern times of being inclusive with our culture and finances?
All right. Definitely. Thank you so much, Savannah. We'll pass it to you.
Okay.
Takeaways and how can they find you?
So my biggest takeaway is you're growing through the experience that you went through and outliving the trauma, whatever trauma that you faced growing up, or maybe you're still experiencing now. You don't have to be the circumstances of what happened in your childhood. Like you, just because your parents didn't have the opportunity doesn't mean that you can't create a new opportunity for yourself and for the future generation to come. And we talked a lot about emotions, about how we feel. And money is something that, like we said, it's going to exploit who you are as a person, whether for the good or for the bad. So a new thought has to lead to a new choice. A new choice has to lead to a new behavior. And then that behavior leads to a new emotion. And so if your emotions around money have been negative and have only been about impulse spending, then in order to have a new emotion around money, you have to think about what you're thinking about. What is it that you're thinking about all day long? How you never have enough? How it's evil and, you know, it's this, you know, it's what's causing people to waste their life and time, or you can look at it from an abundance mindset. I have everything that I need, and I know more is coming. So, that's what I would give away to people that are watching, is that just because you're in the circumstance you're in now doesn't mean you have to stay there. It's okay to be there, but it's not okay to stay there. And we're here to help. So, funny story, I wasn't planning to be on the podcast. I was just going to have these three speak, but I'm glad that I did, because hopefully something that I said resonated with someone. And if you need to reach out, I am on Instagram, and I'll give that information to Will. You'll see it below in the comments.
Sweet.
section.
All right. Thank you for coming, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's one of the reasons why we drank Kid on
That's right. That's right.
Nuggets.
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to circle back to what I said at the beginning. Continue to be a student. Oh, never stop learning new things, because the world is always changing. Things are always changing regardless of what industry you're in. And also, I as you evolve and as you continue to grow, never forget where you came from. But at the same time, never stop focusing on what you want your outcome to be. So eliminate the distractions, have a victor mindset, not a victim mindset, and surround yourself with people that want to win. Don't surround yourself with losers, because reality is gonna check you hard. So if you have people that are in your life that you feel are holding you back, it's okay to love them from a distance and let them, then show them like, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is where I'm going. If you want to come along for the ride, great. If not, I love you from over here. So I have my information too that I'm going to leave with Will. Please reach out to us if you guys are interested in learning more about finances. We love our Polynesian community. We're here for you guys. Yeah, thanks, Will, for the Kava too. It was freaking bomb. You haven't tried Kava? Kava Club. Kava Club.
And speaking of losing, I'm gonna give some tough love to everybody out there. If you're looking around your friend circle of friends and they're all losers, yeah, you're probably a loser too.
Reevaluate.
Reevaluate, yes.
Reevaluate yourself and go out there and be a damn winner.
Yep,
right.
exactly.
All right.
No, I appreciate you, Will, for inviting us. I love supporting other Polynesian entrepreneurs, right? And I think networking is powerful. Yeah. It goes a long way. Maybe if you need help or know someone that needs some of our assistance, you can just refer them to us, and maybe we can help you blow up your podcast, right? And I appreciate, shout out to Kava Club. One of the things that I do take away from today is that we're having a genuine conversation when it comes to our Polynesian community. Yeah. How we can help. A lot of these stuff that we're saying out here is all opinion, guys, right? So don't come for us.
Hey, say it with your chest.
You know what I'm saying? But
don't backtrack.
I said it. What's good? Obviously we're in the financial industry. I believe everyone should get a second opinion on what you guys have. You'll be shocked at what you will learn. I learned a lot from reading books, so you'll be shocked at what we can introduce to you guys. And I truly believe, don't be ashamed too, because or reaching out, or be shy to reach out, because here's what that does. It'll put you in the same position you were at 5 years ago, right? If we could potentially help you and just educate you, at least you got the information, right? So you don't have to move forward with anything. I think the education piece is important. And that way we could empower you with financial literacy. And that way we could, so that you can go home and think about it and then come back and, tell them, hey, I saw the value in what we do. And then what can we do to move forward, right? So we'll also put my information to Will, and you guys can reach out to us. But forget that. I just appreciate you taking the time, for us to come speak on your podcast, and and for the love and support, bro. So shout out to.
As always, don't forget to love the conversation. Reach out to them. All the contact info below, and we'll definitely make sure that Don't forget to like and subscribe so that way, if you saw value in this content, definitely smash the like and subscribe button real quick, and hopefully we can do more of these. But as next time, one more to cover drink for everybody.
Yeah, let's do it.
One more for everybody watching this episode. Last one. All right.
You're excited, huh?
I mean, we can't let the Kava go to waste.
Like you said it. We're gonna drink it.
All right. Last one. All right.
Ofa.
Ofa.
Like,
Peace, y'all.
Yes, sir.